Greetings, everyone. Happy Monday, but more importantly, happy International Social Media Day. I am Dave Grimaldi, the CEO of the Direct Selling Association. I cannot thank all of you enough for joining us today on another massively impactful session as part of DSA series to connect everyone, to learn from the best, and to just share ideas and creation stories and expertise. And I know how busy you all are, so the fact that you are here is hugely important. And if I've not met you personally, please let us connect soon. Again, Dave Grimaldi, dgrimaldi@dsa.org, or you can call me, call my cell, reach out to me in any way. I have been on the job now for almost 6 months as CEO of DSA, and I have traveled to see a lot of you. I've been to all factories and parts of the country for some of our companies, and it's been tremendous. And this event, though, I think is one of the most important ones that we will do in 2025. It's not about chasing trends. It's about getting your marketing, sales, and training teams clarity and confidence. The clarity and confidence that they need to thrive in a constantly shifting digital world. And as I mentioned a moment ago, you will hear from some of the best in the business, the sharpest voices in the space: Scott Kramer, Samantha Hind, Jen Gottlieb, and Shama Hyder. They're going to share relevant and practical strategies, narratives, lessons learned, and more that your teams can use right away. And massive thanks to Scott Kramer and his multi-brain team for producing this unbelievable event, now in its 5th year. So Scott, thank you for all that you do for the channel, for all that you do for DSA, and I'll turn it over to you. Thank you, everybody.
Welcome to the Social Selling Show. Let's up your social media game. If you want sales, you're going to need a strategy. Happy Social Media Day, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Scott Kramer. Dave, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. And I'm so excited for everyone to be here. We're going to have a lot of fun today. Guys, we're going to challenge you. So today's Social Media Day is actually falling on Social Media Day. So I love that we got to time that right. It's June 30th. And we're actually going to challenge you with how you are. This is our corporate edition of Social Media Day. This is where we help the corporate marketing, training, and sales teams at DSA member organizations work through the what's happening in social. And trust me, there is a lot happening. I'm going to kick off today, and I'm going to challenge you with what I believe is the next era of social media. I truly believe we are in a transformational time. I'm going to go through and share what I think is the evolution of social. So I want you to put your thinking on with me. We're going to think big, and then we're going to drill down into some real practical strategies. I've got the best speakers in the business with us today. I've got Jen Gottlieb, who's going to follow up after me and go into personal branding. Then we've got Sam Hind, the amazing Sam Hind, who's going to be bringing her story selling and storytelling and community building strategies. And then we have Shama Hyder, who's going to close out the afternoon this afternoon with us, really focusing on AI and new technologies and how to use them properly. So I think by the end of this event, you're going to have a lot in your arsenal to work with on how to take your field to the next level with what we feel is happening with social media. So that said, we put together a little intro video, all right, to get the ball rolling. And then I'm going to come back. But I want you to watch this. I want you to keep an open mind because, like I said, there's something happening, and it's really going to change the way we use social to grow our business. So, Rodney, go ahead and roll tape. We were promised connection. We got clicks. We wanted conversation. We got chaos. Social media began with good intentions, a digital dinner table, a space to share, laugh, and stay close. Then came the race for reach. Followers became currency. Algorithms decided who we saw and what we believed. Suddenly we were performers, shouting into the void, creating content not to connect, but to compete. We lost trust, we lost intimacy, we lost control. But something new is happening, something real, something small, something powerful. We are curating, we are choosing, we are protecting our circles. We're sharing what matters with those who matter. This is private social, not the end of social media, the upgrade. Where creators become curators, where influence gives way to intention, where one message to one person means more than a million likes. It's not about going viral, it's about being vital to a few. Private social is trust first, connection first, people first. This is the next era of social media. We call it private social. So there you have it. There's our platform for today. We're going to be talking about where social media is headed. We're going to talk about where we've been, what we've been doing, and really the strategies you need. The concept we've named this is more private social. Let me explain a little bit further. I want to take you through this, but in order for us to look forward, we do have to take a look back. So I want you to go on a quick little journey with me so I can kind of encapsulate and bundle up where I think social media has gone. Now, I got to tell you, one of my great pleasures and great experiences was back in 2008, where I was working with a lot of celebrities, a lot of athletes, and we did actually the first live streaming event on Facebook in 2008 with Roger Federer and Maria Sharapova at Wimbledon. So it was a very interesting experience. It was one of those aha moments for me where I said, wait a minute, this thing called social is going to change the way we do business. It's going to change the way people build their business. I had no idea we'd be going through all these different eras. Let me share a couple with you. I call this the evolution of social media. So first of all, Federer, go Federer, right? The GOAT. So the evolution of social, let's just reflect for a quick second. The first phase I call the era of connection. It's how social media began. It was this promise of how you can stay connected with your friends and family. It's where MySpace came from, Facebook, even the early days of LinkedIn. This was the era of connection. It was people first, post second. The original promise was connecting with friends, family, and networks. That's how social media began. I bet a lot of you would be with me in saying, I wish it would go back to just that, right? I'm turning on my privacy real quick to be focused. So it was the people first, post second era. Then came the era of creation. All right. This brought about Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, this idea of everyone is a creator, visual storytelling, lifestyle curation, the rise of the hustle culture where everybody is a brand. It's really the start of kind of personal branding and what we put out there in this creator mentality. All right. That was fun. Everyone's a creator. It really created a lot of content on these social networks. The third era is the era of influence, the rise of the influencer. And this was influencers dominating reach. The social proof becomes currency, where followers became currency, where this game of influence was how many people can you attract? How many people can you connect to? Brands began to follow creators instead of leading them. We saw a shift, a complete shift focus to where it's more about the people. And we all know people buy from people. So we love this in our industry. But it was about influencers kind of taking over, right? So that's what we're working towards. Those are the three eras: the connection, the creator, and the influencer. But let me tell you where I think we are today. Today, I think we're in, and tell me if you agree in the comments. I want you guys to shout out and let me know. I believe we're in the era of algorithm chaos. Who's with me on this one? Where the feed no longer feeds us. Right? So we're in this algorithm chaos. I mean, literally, I could say hiking right now and turn on my phone, scroll over to Facebook, and I guarantee half my feed will be about hiking. That's just how it goes. Ida agrees. Yep, Jenny agrees. Jen agrees. It really is. Angel's in there for it. We're in this algorithm chaos where the machine is showing us and dictating what we see and what we believe. Okay. So that said, we're moving into the future of social, and I'm going to share that with you, but not all bad here with this algorithm chaos. But I do want to share what the challenge is. Okay. I've got a lot. I call it welcome to the chaos. And social media is literally breaking your connection with your customers. So where we started in the connection era, moved into creators and influencers, we're now in this algorithm that's deciding what we see and what we believe and who we see. And it's really breaking down the ability for our sales force to connect with customers. Let me share with you just, and I know this is rather small, I'll go ahead and make it big on the full screen here. We've got the rise of AI junk and fake engagement from bots. We got sponsored content flooding the feeds to the tune of maybe 30-40% of your feed is paid commercials. Posts from real people are no longer seen. Creators are chasing trends, not building trust. The death of organic community reach. People don't even see our group posts anymore. Comment pods, engagement groups, and forced virality. So this is what's happening in this algorithm chaos. I know for me, I almost don't really trust a lot of what I see in my feed. They're fake accounts, they're clickbait, they're not trusting. We've lost this trust. Would you agree? I think everyone is agreeing, right? So this is the engagement. This is the challenge of engagement in an algorithm era. There is a way around this. It's not going away. So let's lean into it and train our sales force on how to use the algorithm to their best interest. One way that I do it, just so you know, and I'll go into this. Well, let me just say, we're exhausted from it, right? Well, here's how I work through it. If I want, like, for example, I've been really into motivation and AI and new technologies and scaling your SaaS business, all of the stuff that I do by being the leader of Multibrain is, what I do is I go in and I comment and I look for content. I search content that I want to see. And when I comment, the algorithm's going to immediately pick that up and say, we know Scott is interested in this type of information and this type of content. Let's show it to him. Heck, on Instagram, I happen to love recipes. I curate and save them and send them to friends all the time. Well, guess what I see more than anything else on Instagram? Recipes. So by you telling the algorithm what you are interested in, your feed will be tailored to that. So the easiest way to tell the algorithm is what you're searching for and what you're looking at and what you're engaging with is what the algorithm's going to show you more of. Now let me flip that upside down and talk about how does your sales force use the algorithm to find more customers. And that's as easy as a strategy I've used for years and a 4-step process that really works perfectly. I call this the 10 passion keywords. Okay. And this is the exercise we do when we do training with all of our partner companies and partners that we work with around the world. What we say to your sales force is we say, what are your 10 keywords, your 10 passions that make you and your business unique to you? Not nutrition, healthy, living. It's not that. Those can be some of them, of course. But what makes you unique is what we challenge sales folks and consultants with. My keywords: Montana, rivers, tennis, my dog, those types of things. Now, the way social media has evolved is keywords are now the new hashtag. Keywords are searchable. Keywords trigger the algorithm to deliver content based on those topics. So they become really powerful for your field to set up her personal brand, her unique differentiator. Why is she selling Avon or USANA or Tastefully Simple or Young Living or Tupperware? Any of these, what makes each person unique? And how are they actually going to attract like-minded people? This is the exercise. Create your 10 keywords and then integrate those keywords into your bio, your about section, your posts. I'm not saying every one of them. My tag to posting something is, wow, summer days in Montana sure are great for playing tennis with my dog. Awesome. I'm not saying integrate all of them, but weave your 10 keywords into your social media strategy so that the algorithm can show your content to like-minded people. And that's what's going to drive new customers. It's a wonderful strategy. We've been doing it for years. We call it the 10 passion keywords. Now let me take you through what I think are the 4 steps to using the algorithm to your advantage. Number 1, your field should create lifestyle or educational reels. Reels and stories. Reels has been proven to be, I call it the top of the funnel, if you will. Reels is the best place for you to reach new people to talk to. And that's the name of the game in direct selling, is always finding new people to talk to. So let's use the algorithm to find like-minded people. So when I create an educational post or an entertaining post or a lifestyle post of me hiking or being on the boat with my dog and enjoying the summer, when I create those lifestyle cues, the algorithm is going to say, oh, I see some people that love lakes and love being in Montana. I'm going to show them this. They're going to love that. So we're actually putting the algorithm to work for us. Let me tell you what the algorithm won't do. If you put up, or if your field puts up a reel saying, my gosh, I love this product. It makes me feel young and new, and I feel so fresh and energized, and I love this product. When you start posting a commercial, the algorithm's just going to say, no go. Not sharing that with people. You need to pay for ads for that. So when you do the commercially type content, product benefit, sale, act now, free shipping, the algorithm's not going to show that. I think you guys will agree. Your sales force is going, I keep posting and no one sees my content. Well, guess what? Take a look at your content. The content needs to educate, entertain, or enlighten. The 3 E's. Gosh, I've been saying that one for 10 years. 3 E's: entertain, educate, enlighten. All right. So teach, entertain me, educate me, make me laugh, give me something to think about. All right. So that's what the algorithm loves. Maria is asking, for reels and stories, you use the keywords in hashtags or as part of the copy. You don't have to use Maria. You don't have to use them as hashtags. In fact, hashtags is getting kind of a controversial play right now on whether they're effective or not. Hashtags are really designed for somebody to be able to find your content. So I can search hashtag Montana living, and then I can see posts about. So it's a search tool for people to find your content. So they're going out looking for you. That's why you use hashtags. Keywords, on the reverse, is something that really sparks and triggers the algorithm to show your content to those people. So keywords is more of a proactive driver per se versus a organizational tool. So you want to use the keywords just in your post as words, because I mean, it's SEO searchable. It's, social media posts work. So just use the keywords in your copy. You don't have to make them hashtags. So that is what you're going to do. Entertain, teach, inspire. Use your keywords and captions that reflect you. I'm a foodie, mom life, skincare, books, things like that. That's going to help the algorithm show that content to the right people. Number 2, let the algorithm bring you new eyes. The algorithm will suggest your content to people interested in those topics that you weaved into your content. 2, think of it as your digital handshake. Like, oh, meet me. This is what I'm interested in. Let's know if you want to connect. That's number 2. Number 3, this is where we get more into the world of private social, which I'm going to really lean into next, which is start conversations right away. So check who viewed your stories or engaged with your post or saw your reel. DM them with a genuine comment or a follow-up question. Just let them know you recognize that they participated and they engaged with your content. So it's a real great way. You want to start a conversation. The way I see it is Reels is the top of the funnel. a DM is the conversation. So that's where you want to go with your content strategy. And then 4, just nurture them in a private way. Invite them to your group personally. Tag them in future posts if it's very pertinent to them, or simply keep the chat going in a conversation. Conversations, I've said this from day one, the currency of social media is conversations. Okay, it's not sales. Conversations lead to customers. All right, so that's my 4-step process of taking advantage of this algorithm chaos. But let me share with you what I feel is what's next. I believe the future of social isn't bigger. I believe the future of social media is smaller, is realer. Is that even really a word? Realer? It's closer. It's a circle of trust. We've lost trust with social media because of this algorithm chaos. We've lost intimacy. We've lost control of what we see in our news feed. So the future, I believe, is smaller. And I challenge all of you to think smaller now and think more trustworthy and more privately. I know this may be a little controversial, but this is truly what I believe where social media is going. Gary Vaynerchuk, who we all know, he believes we're going into a world of interest media, where you're not seeing posts from your friends, you're seeing posts from things that you're interested in. Like I say hiking, bam. And yes, Shannon, back to building community, absolutely, a smaller community. In fact, we moved from broadcasting to belonging, from mass reach to micro trust. Trust is my favorite word. Let me share with you some different ways of what I feel private social is. Private social is, and I'll make this bigger for you as well. Private social is group chats, direct messages, lives, permission-based sharing. Would you like to opt in to receive my daily message in a broadcast? Things like that. Trusted circles over noisy feeds. Opt-in engagement. Personal brand is greater than public content. Now, we have curated these amazing speakers today that are going to drill down even into more of this detail. So stay tuned for that. But these are the components of what I believe private social is. Now, that said, let me take a sip. How do you train your sales force? I can give it, broadcast channels on Instagram. People can subscribe to that. That may be a small group of 20 people. You may do a broadcast channel that is very laser focused on one topic. Like, I'm only going to do this one for people who love Caesar salads, because in that group, I'm going to send recipes for Caesar salads. We're going to do content about Caesar salads. And I'm just giving you a silly example. Of course, you wouldn't do one for that. Although I would, I love Caesars. Here's it real simple, guys. Train your sales force to be them. Train them to be them. It really is. I've watched this for 14 years. Multibrain has been dedicated to the direct selling channel. And we've worked with over 800,000 active consultants in 27 countries. So we know a thing or two about what's going on out there. And what I think is a great opportunity for you and your marketing departments and your sales force to train your sales force is to start really showing them how to be them, not just showing them, here's the product, here's the sale price, here's the free shipping, and here's the benefits of that product, go. No, we've got to now start weaving in, how do you make this product part of your life so that you really don't even have to talk about the product. You talk about yourself, you do your own storytelling, or what we say, story selling. So again, if you train them to be them, we know that the algorithm favors people. Trust. This is the big word here. We are establishing trust. In fact, I think trust is the new metric over reach. It's not how many people you reached. It's how many people did you engage with. It's how many people did you make an impact on. That's way more important than reach. You saw in the video, a one-to-one conversation is more valuable than 1 million likes. and I truly believe in the world of private social and where we're going with this algorithm chaos, that couldn't be more true. Focus on the one-to-one. Now, content. We need to work with the field that allows content that feels like them, content that feels like the consultant, not corporate content, not polished, not perfect. We want authenticity. We want real. What we want to do is we want to empower connection, not content. So we need to start moving our field into an area where we're empowering them to connect with people, to create conversations versus empowering them to just post content, because that's going to lead to more sales. Trust me in this process. When you focus on the micro engagement, the direct message, the one-to-one, the conversation, you're going to beat out the viral views all day long. We have trained in over the past few years, I've watched a lot of direct selling companies train this idea that we're creating creators, we're making influencers. Well, first of all, everyone is an influencer, whether you're influencing your family of 3 or influencing 10,000 people. Okay, we're all influencers. So let's throw that out. What we need to do is we need to move away from this concept where our sales force says, hello, followers. I love Caesar salads. Who else loves a Caesar salad? Sound off. Let me know. I'm blasting this out to everybody. We need to shift that focus into, instead of let me talk to you, my followers, to, hey, Cassandra, you told me last week you're obsessed with Caesar salads. Wait till you see this recipe I just got. That's intentional. That is small. That is one-to-one. That is a micro engagement with one person. That's going to bring a lot more value than the 2% of my followers that saw a post that was random about Caesar salads. So that's what I mean. Intentional focus is the ability of social media. You have to understand the beauty of social media is the fact that we're connected to people. Now, they're no longer seeing my blasted out I'm an influencer posts, but I am connected. So let's shift that focus to being more intentional. Like, oh my God, I'm going to talk to just the people I know in Montana and let them know about this great event going on this weekend. You can target your content that way and your posts. So we need to train our field to stop being a celebrity and start thinking intentionally about the power they have to be connected to the people in their lives. Because gosh knows the algorithm's not showing all my posts to everybody. I think one of the biggest trends this year, and I'm so excited about it, is not just creating content. You know, the last thing we need is more people dancing in front of their phones. Now, I'm not against anybody dancing in front of their phone. Go for it. Dance to your blue in the face. I watch these TikToks with dancing. There's this group, I don't know, Sam, she'll be up here in a little bit. She's from Australia. They're Australians, this father-daughter. I'm obsessed with watching them do lip syncing. So I am entertained by that, but we don't need to really focus on creating more noise. I believe 9 out of 10 of your sales force probably doesn't want to dance in front of their phone, probably has a hard time creating content, probably is looking for a better way to use social media. Well, here's how they use it. They don't need to become super famous. They don't need to create amazing reels that has them, you know, that they spend 2 hours editing and playing with. What they can do, curate. There's so much great content out there. And again, if you just take your 10 keywords and curate that type of content, so not only am I going to go in and use those keywords to get the algorithm to show me content I want to see, but now I'm going to see that content. I'm going to be able to save that content, or, you know, we've got a product called BAM that we use that you can BAM it into a folder, and then I can share it with anybody anytime that might be interested in that. So that's what I mean. Curating is so powerful. I think curating is going to be the strategy of the year and going into 2026. We don't need to create more noise. We need to create more intentional content. A lot of that's being created. So if I'm into health and nutrition, or I'm into kitchen tips and tricks, or I'm into skincare and makeup, whatever your topic is, find that content, see what you like, learn those tips, curate content, and share that with people intentionally. And it's going to work incredibly well. I think curating is really around this idea of sharing what matters with those who matter. All right. Do you get where I'm going with this thinking small mentality? I think all of us think we're almost Kardashians or something, and we have to perform for everybody out there because that's what the algorithm dictates. It's just not true. We need to use these tools we have, these TikToks, these Instagrams, these Facebook pages, to know that we're connected to our community, and we can create and curate and bring value to that community every day. Let me share you with this, and then I'm going to wind down and give you my top 8 tips to train your sales force. Look, it became a game. We all remember Facebook and Instagram. How many likes did you get? How many likes? Oh, I didn't get any comments. I got to get more comments. Ask more questions. If you ask questions, you get more comments. Well, guess what the number one most important these days? All of it's important, don't get me wrong. But you got likes, comments, and shares. This little airplane over here, bloop, is the share. Look on Instagram next time you're looking at Reels and watch how many shares a piece of content gets. You know, likes are just as important, of course, but likes are kind of the general playing field. It's easy for a like. Everybody likes. There's lots of likes. So how does the algorithm then really trigger down and say, well, I mean, there's even bad content out there that gets likes. There's commercial content that gets likes. Give me, what's another mechanism I can use to really see if something's valuable? That's the share. The people that share, when you share a piece of content on Instagram or on Facebook, you're sharing it one-on-one or one to a few. All right. That's the power of private social. So I'm saying, I really love this reel. Thank you, creator. I really liked that. Colton's here. Hi, Colton. Getting a share is the highest compliment. It's true. And it tells the algorithm, wow, this person went out of their way to share this reel or this piece of content with one of their friends that they care about and love the most. Okay. What does that share say? Trust, control, likability. It basically is the highest compliment. I love that you're saying that. Ada says, with the comments and share because it recognizes it as an engagement. Yes, for sure. Comments are still valuable as well, but that share is the new gold standard of quality content. How many times did somebody share your reel? So if you're creating content, that is key. Now, I want to round this out and give you guys some practical tips, and then I'm going to step off and bring on some other amazing speakers. So I just want you to know connections convert, or connection converts. It's about connecting with people. So I think the idea here is we need to move away from training our sales force to be creators. You're the influence of your world. Go post more. The more consistently you post, the more action you'll get. All of those are solid strategies. You may hear some of these strategies. Consistency is key, of course. Content is great. Curating is the new buzz, I think. But let's talk about connections, because that's where it matters. Here's 8 quick tips that I want to share with you that you can share with your sales force and your team. 1, teach them a one message to one person first. Train your reps to DM a customer before they post to their feed. Private social begins in private. Representatives should lead with one-to-one contact, a DM, a voice note, a personal share, not all mass postings. So let's start teaching our sales force how to use social media to create a one-to-one message. Okay, because I think everyone's so worried about them, being popular and how many likes did they get. Let's focus on the one message to one person, because it's an incredibly valuable tool. Number 2, host a small circle challenge. Now, This may be as simple as a Facebook group, but we know Facebook groups are, there's so many now that becomes tough. But encourage your reps to build a group of their top 10 or 20 customers in a chat or a private group, but a small circle of trust, and provide your sales force with the prompts to nurture that group. Okay. We always provide our sales force with product and benefits and promotions. How about just helping them nurture with check-ins, with tips, exclusive deals, things that they can do in a small, trusted circle. Okay. A circle of trust. That one is so valuable. The next one is create a weekly conversation starter kit. Look, I know we've been around for so many years working with so many companies. We give them all the assets they need, but do we give them 3 to 5 personal message scripts or a certain topic each week? Do we give them not stuff to post, but to share directly with somebody, like how to answer an FAQ question in a fun, friendly, friend talking way, not broadcasting, not marketing speak, not let me punch this into Chat GPT and have it spit out some perfect Shakespearean text for me to post? Not that. How do I create more conversations? How do I ask the right questions? I know a lot of people, what I've seen when they do it wrong is they'll post something and somebody will say, that was fun. And then they go back and they attack them in the messages and say, oh, thank you so much for saying that's fun. You can buy this product if you write now. Here's my link and you're going to get 20% off if you do it today. But will you share it to all of your friends? And then could I possibly post on your page the same link and then share that with all your friends? Would you mind doing that? Because I want to hit my goal. I got to get so many sales by Friday. No, not going to work. Help them create conversations that build a relationship. It'll get the sales. You don't need to go in and blast with spammy content, but are you giving conversation starters to your field that doesn't sound like a ChatGPT commercial, friend to friend, person to person? I challenge you to take a look at that. Here's another one. Train them to curate, not just create. Help reps identify what kind of content feels like them and how to share it meaningfully. The 10 keywords is it, guys. I know it works. Using it for years. This could be behind the scenes, customer wins, real life moments, saved and sent intentionally. All right. How did you get started? Let me share my story with you, not as a post, but as a conversation. Okay. Train them. I love that one. Here's another one. Use real examples. Everyone, you guys all love your before and afters. How about a before and after of how to post or have a conversation? How about show a traditional side-by-side example of traditional product marketing versus personal intentional ones? Show me what they know already versus what they should be doing. Break it down to why it works, what doesn't work, and why the personal tone converts better. Okay, use real examples, before and after for content. I love that. All right, we're winding down here. Empower your reps with DM ready assets. So help them with how do they respond to somebody in a direct message. Offer exclusive graphics or short videos or audio notes designed only for private sharing. Label them for one-on-one use only to emphasize the intimacy and the exclusivity. Believe me, it'll have much more value. All right, I got 2 more. Train on the trust funnel. I'm going to be spending a lot of time on this. The trust funnel is real simple. Comment leads to conversation. Conversation leads to community. And community leads to customer. The new 4 C's. Comment, conversation, community, customer. Don't you love that? Comment, conversation, community, customer. Help your team understand that every like or reply is a doorway to deeper trust. And they need to nurture that relationship. And that is the power of social media. And finally, here's my closing comment. We're not creating content to get followers anymore. We're creating content to start relationships. That is what, now, unless you're a major influencer and a speaker and a coach and all that, of course you want to grow your community and your followers. Heck, we've been talking this strategy for years. But your field, for the most part, they're trying to create relationships that they can then turn into customers. So think that way. You're not just creating to get followers, you're creating to start relationships. Because after all, we know our people buy from people they trust. I used to always say people buy from people, but people buy from people they trust. Trust is what we've been losing in social media with this algorithm chaos. Bring the trust back. People buy from people they trust. And that, my friends, in social media is our superpower. Our superpower is we are built with teams of people and representatives and consultants. So how do we empower them to sell our products with their story, with their personal brand, and with their information? So that's my spiel. I believe in private social. I hope you guys got something out of this. I'm going to be with you for the whole day, so get used to me. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say thank you for coming on board today, for being with us. It's great to have you all. And I also now want to introduce our next speaker. So this could not be a better layup, because when I talk about people buy from people they trust, there's no stronger strategy out there than building a personal brand. And there's no better speaker on the planet right now in the personal branding space than my friend, Jen Gottlieb. So we're going to watch a little video on Jen and then bring her right in. You're going to love this one, guys. Buckle up. Jen Gottlieb.
I've been working my whole life, and now it's do or die. I am invincible, unbreakable, unstoppable, unshakable. They knock me down, I get up again. I am the champion. You don't know my name, you can't hurt me now. I can't feel the pain. I was made for this, yeah, I was born to win. I am the champion.
Thank you so much, Scott. Happy Social Media Day, everybody. Just drop on into the comments. I can see you all there. Can you just drop in and let me know where you are joining me from today? I love to see where everybody is because I just moved into a new home. So I want to see where everybody is at today. Drop on in. Great to see you guys. And I'm going to be talking about personal branding. And you're right, Scott. That was the perfect layup. It's so funny. I have a lot of the same thing that you were just saying in my slide deck, which is so aligned and so perfect. So we're going to be talking about exactly what Scott was leading into, but from the perspective of really building that personal brand and teaching your direct sellers to build their own reputations, their personal brands. So we're going to dive in. Oh, look at this. The comments. We got Mexico, Mexico City, Los Angeles, San Diego, California. Let's go. Ridgeland, Mississippi. Love it. Welcome, everybody. I like engagement, so you guys can keep lighting up the comments with me. That would be amazing. All right. So I believe I have my screen ready to go. Look at that. Professional. Here we go. Let me see how I can just move this over slide by slide. We're just going to go like this. And great. Awesome. Here we go. All right. Hi, fam. I'm Jen Gottlieb. If you want to scan that little QR code and follow me on social media, please DM me. I am in my DMs and looking forward to meeting every single one of you. If you have any questions about this, I am here for you. And today we're going to be diving into my ultimate personal brand blueprint. Now, obviously, this is stuff I want you to empower your sales team with. But listen, if you're a human being on planet Earth, no matter what you do, I think that it is unbelievably important that everybody has their own virtual footprint or their own personal brand. And I'm going to dive into why this is important throughout today. But I think that this isn't just for you to train your teams. I think that this is for absolutely everyone. Now, before we dive in, it's important that I share a little bit about me because I know some of you have no idea who I am. So I'll give you a little backstory, just a touch. We're going to talk about how I went from this. This was my very first speaking engagement ever. It was in front of like 12 people sitting on the floor at a fitness studio to this. Now I speak internationally in front of thousands of people. And it is truly the thing that I love doing more than anything in the world. But let's take it even further back so you guys can know exactly how I got there, because building a personal brand pretty much has everything to do with it. So I used to be an actress. I guess you could say I was a somewhat successful actress. I was in a Broadway national tour. I was on a TV show on VH1 for 5 years. And as you can see there on my face, you can probably see, I was pretty out of alignment. I was pretty lost and confused. I didn't feel like this was it for me. I didn't feel like this was the vision that I had for myself when I was a little girl thinking I wanted to be an actress. It happened and I got it. And I kept thinking, there's got to be something more. There's got to be more to this. And so you can read my book to find out how my whole acting career crashed and burned. But I ended up quitting and I became a personal trainer. This was my very first business. And I went into this business of basically trading dollars for hours. So I would go and I would train about 5 to 10 clients per day in New York City, and I would get paid my rate and I would go home. But the problem with this was that it was a great business and I was an entrepreneur, but I had absolutely no way to scale this business because there was only one of me and there was only so many hours in the day. So I had to make a shift. And I started building this personal brand online. So I started to scale. I started learning about creating online products. And so then I became a personal trainer with an online program. And I slowly started creating content and building a brand and understanding the power and the leverage that a virtual presence and a virtual footprint gives to people. And then I started leveraging the media. And I do believe that with your personal brand, alongside social media, mainstream media is still important. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. It's not necessarily important in the way that you think it is, or many of you might be thinking it is traditionally, where you'll be watching the news and see somebody on the news and it gives them instant credibility, but more so how you amplify your mainstream media on social media to create credibility, influence, and authority. I call that CIA, which are non-negotiables for building a personal brand in today's world in 2025, because what Scott was saying is so true. People buy from people that they trust. So I started building a brand through mainstream media and social media. And I realized there was so much more than just speaking in front of 12 people. So I started getting these like cute little speaking engagements. And I was like, this is amazing. I want to keep doing this. How do I keep going? And then I partnered up with my now husband, he was my boyfriend at the time, to build our second company, which was a PR agency. And we decided we were going to help people get these mainstream media hits and be seen and build brands through the power that this mainstream media gives you with the credibility and the influence and the authority. And it was called Super Connector Media. And I began getting more opportunities to speak all over the world. The main goal with this was to generate more sales and leads for our company. So I was not speaking because I wanted to become a motivational speaker. This was because I wanted to grow my business and I wanted to get more clients in the door for our PR agency. It ended up working. It was an amazing strategy because not many PR agencies were building personal brands alongside their company. We grew our company to a place where we could eventually exit. So we sold our PR agency and we decided to go all in on developing our own mastermind and events company to teach people how to be seen and how to build this amazing asset called a personal brand. This is our company, Super Connector Media. This is our mastermind. And during this time, I continued learning all about social media. I'm a social media geek just like Scott. And I was posting consistently all the time until eventually my brand started to take off. I started getting some virality on Instagram and I started to learn what worked and more importantly, what didn't. And one thing that I found 3 years ago was the power of lives. And maybe there's some of you here that join my lives every morning. For the past, I think it's been 3.5 years, I've gone live on Instagram every single day with this cow headband on my head while I put my makeup on to connect with my audience. Now, everything that Scott was just saying is so unbelievably true, especially today. Now, I was doing this before connection was that big of a thing, but I'm seeing now all of the success that each day of me being uncomfortable and doing this Instagram live, which by the way was very scary for me, it's now built a community that trusts me and they show up every day with me. And it's built confidence in myself to be seen without makeup. It's built confidence in myself to be able to go live and answer questions when I don't even know what people are going to be asking me. This built my brand to it took my brand to a whole nother stratosphere. And this got me to signing my multi-six-figure book deal. Again, this is a result of building personal brand. And then because of that book, I was able to book almost 100 podcasts on some of the top shows because of the relationships that I built via my personal brand. And hopefully you guys are seeing a theme here. I'm not telling you all this just to talk about myself. I'm sharing the experiences that I had based on what I'm about to teach you so you guys can understand how unbelievably powerful this is for you and for your team. And then, of course, not of course, I was hoping that this would happen, but the book did really well. It became a bestseller. And I have been able to have some of the experiences in business that I never thought possible. Why? Because of building a personal brand. That's just a little bit of the power of it. And there are many people that have done it a way bigger way than me. And I'm going to give you a few examples in a second. But why the hell is this important for you today? Again, this is not for me to talk about myself. I wanted you guys to get a good view of who I am, what I do, how I got here, so that you can see that I'm not just teaching this because I learned about it. Everything that I teach you today is going to be something that I actually did myself. So why is this important for you? Well, Scott said it beautifully. We have officially entered a personality-driven marketplace. We are no longer in a product marketplace. It's about the person. People buy from people. Or you could say what Scott said earlier, people buy from people that they trust. In 2025, your personal brand is leverage. I talk about your brand being a brand bank all the time to my students and people that I speak in front of, because you can think about it like it's a lever that you can pull at any moment in time. And I'm going to give you some examples of how some pretty famous influencers have been able to do this, but we're not even going to be talking about becoming a famous influencer. I just want you guys to see the power that a personal brand gives you and the amount of leverage that you have when you've created a true connection with your audience based on who you are authentically and not trying to be somebody else or trying to hack the algorithm in some kind of crazy weird way with some crazy weird strategy. We're going to create leverage by being yourself. So some examples, Mr. Beast, he has a brand now called Feastables. Many of you might know him. He is a YouTube sensation, but he wasn't always. He's estimated to be worth about $10 million, or he has a $10 million annual revenue. I think he's worth way, way, way more than that. But he started as a YouTuber. He was just doing outrageous stunts. He was just being exactly who he was on YouTube. And he ended up skyrocketing and building this massive audience. And now any company that he builds is going to be worth, hundreds of millions of dollars, I'm sure. Another great example is Huda Heidi Katan. Any of you beauty lovers out there? Huda Beauty is massive. And she built this, a company that's worth over $1 billion on YouTube, building her personal brand, doing makeup tutorials, showing people the makeup that she loves, connecting with her audience. And the reason that I'm sharing with you these examples is because these were just normal people that went online and started sharing who they were authentically, what they were enthusiastic about, what they were excited about. And they ended up building an audience that desired a product for them and kept following along the journey. And they were able to create a product not based on what they thought that people would want, but what people were telling them that they wanted from them. And any product that they build in the future will have a much better chance at going viral and succeeding because they have a built-in audience, people that know, like, and trust them. One more example, Mariana Hewitt. She built Summer Fridays. Now, this is a really great success story. It's estimated about $70 million, this company. But I remember when she started talking about the jet lag mask. It was this mask that she used to wear when she would talk about getting off of airplanes or if she was hungover. And this sold out multiple times. It became a massive bestseller. She built this incredible connection with her followers, and everybody wanted a jet lag mask based on the unique way that she communicated her problem and the solution that she created for her problem. Again, this product was built based on a personal brand because people trusted Mariana because she had the same problem that many of them had. Here's another example of the power of personal brand. And we're not going to get political here, but we could even talk about the entire election was based on podcasts and the power of podcasts and the power of the audience that many of these podcasters have been able to build. Joe Rogan he had his renewal deal with Spotify for up to $250 million. And really nobody can compete with being Joe Rogan because there's only one Joe Rogan. And Alex Cooper, call her daddies. She had a $100 million deal with SiriusXM. And why? Because she built an audience based on her unique personal brand. Now, what does this mean for you leading direct selling teams? Well, basically it means that the more deeply your sellers can connect with their audience, with their unique story and their unique personality and their unique imperfections, and what Scott was saying with getting up in the DMs and really making relationships with people, the more they can build that connection and that trust, the more essentially their platform is going to be worth in all of the ways. Still not sold? This is a fun game to do. Let me ask you this. All right, we're going to do a pop quiz and I want you guys to follow along in the chat. Are you guys ready? This is a fun one. I want to see it in the chat. I'm going to ask you a question. Which one do you know the answer to? A, who's the CEO of Delta? Anyone know? Delta Airlines. Who's the CEO of Delta? Who is the CEO of Delta? Anyone know it? We'll keep on going. No? Anyone? We could get a try. All right, how about this one? Who's the CEO of Hilton? Anyone know Hilton? No? You sure? How about Virgin Atlantic? Anyone know the CEO of Virgin Atlantic? Yeah, thank you, Scott. So my gut says that many of you would know Richard Branson. Why do you know that? Well, because he has an unbelievably powerful personal brand. And when I think of, am I going to go on a Virgin Atlantic flight to Europe or am I going to take a Delta flight to Europe? There is a moment in time where my brain connects Virgin Atlantic to Richard Branson and his values and his truth and the way that he communicates. And knowing and trusting that brand, that it's a powerful brand because I know that Richard Branson doesn't mess around with quality. I just know, and he speaks about it all the time. So it can be the answer to, am I going to buy this product or not from this person or not? And we're going to talk about that in a second. I really think about social media as the second step rather than the first step. The first step is often, especially with direct selling, maybe somebody introduces you to someone or you get referred to someone. You don't necessarily find them in this messy, chaotic algorithm, the algorithm that Scott beautifully talked about as being chaotic. It is. Right now, we're getting introduced to or we're getting referred to. So if you get referred to somebody and that person, what are they going to do the second that they meet you? Well, they're going to go Google you and search you and look at your social media and they want to see your values. They want to see your personality. They want to see your vibe. They're going to have a few seconds before they decide to click follow or click buy or click DM or click like, or even send that screenshot of your profile to somebody else, which happens a lot of the time. We are in the business right now of creating our own media companies with our personal brand. And we're going to talk about that in a second. So this goes into the survey and I want you guys to be really, really honest here. We're going to play along. Here we go. When you are looking to hire someone to provide a specific service or you're looking to buy something very specific and you get referred to 3 different people, what's the first thing that you do? When you get referred to, you have 3 different referrals. What are you going to go do? Are you going to call each office, call each person, like find them and call them and say, hey, what's up? A, are you going to pick the cheapest option? Just like go online and see who's the least expensive way to get my problem solved? Renee is like, Google them, or you're going to Google each option, research their online presence, or now ChatGPT them, I would say C. Look, Emily, I'm going to Google you. You are certainly not going to Google me. Oh, yes. Everybody is going to Google. They're going to look at your social presence. They're going to check out your brand. That is the power of brand. They are going to take at least, like it is so quick, you guys. It's quicker than you can even imagine. They're going to look at the Instagram or the TikTok or the Google presence. They're going to take a quick snapshot in their mind and they're going to make that decision before even speaking to you if they want to follow you, buy from you, or learn more from you. So that means that our personal brand needs to represent who we are authentically and truthfully and connect to our audience in a way that feels like us. We're going to talk about that more in a second. So keep sticking with me. Today, we're going to dive into the 3 key pillars that build a personal brand that creates impact and income. Because let's be real, we want to create an impact, but we also want to make some money. And we want all of our direct sellers to also live the life of their dreams and make some money and have an asset that will continue to provide value to them for their life, which is their personal brand. Number 1 is captivating content. Number 2 is visibility and omnipresence. And number 3 is reps. We'll get into that. I mean, it really is like, well, just stay tuned for that one. A personal brand is not fonts and colors. It's not even viral content. Your personal brand is your reputation. Maya Angelou has a really great quote. It's people will forget what you did. They'll forget what you said, but they will never forget the way you made them feel. Unbelievably important quote. So we are all out there building our personal brand, our online presence, our virtual footprint based on what we want people to say about us when we're not in the room, how we want to make people feel. You are the brand. Your colors aren't the brand. Your logo isn't the brand. Your little quotes that you say, your mic drop moments are not your brand. Your unique story, your personality, your quirks and imperfections, your evolution. Escape competition through authenticity. I don't know if you guys know Naval Ravikant, but he's a brilliant, brilliant entrepreneur. He was one of the first investors in Uber. And I love this quote from him. You are never competing with anybody as long as you are completely authentic, because there is only one you. And the cool thing about having an army of direct sellers out there, they're all unique. They are all uniquely themselves, and they can all go out there and completely skyrocket their own personal business and not compete with anyone, as long as they are speaking their truth, being exactly who they are as they are, because there's going to be people that resonate with one better than the other, and that's a good thing. Here's a great example.
What would be like 1 or 2 steps for discovering your brand?
What's your name?
Bethany.
What do you like to do?
I love porches.
You're a porch enthusiast?
I'm a porch enthusiast. We do Fridays on the porch every week.
Tell me about Fridays on the porch every week.
Fridays on the porch are casual and it's comfortable. The neighbors like to come. Door's always open. You never know who's going to show up, but it's our special sacred space where we just come together, connect. And during COVID, we solved all of my kids' life problems on the porch.
Would you say that you help other families find homes with porches like that so they can have those experiences?
100%.
You just found your personal brand. You say.
I love that example. That was at an event for a bunch of real estate professionals. And there are many real estate professionals in the world. And the number one question that I would get from them is, how do I stand out? How do I build a personal brand that like gets noticed in the sea of sameness? And so that's often how I help people find their uniqueness. It's like, what's different about you? And this was such a lovely example because this woman loves porches. I'm like, great, you are the porch princess. You are the woman to go to when you want to know the houses with the best porches. What a unique brand. So whatever weird quirks and passions or hobbies that you have or that your direct sellers have, inspire them to showcase them. Next up, captivating content, or I also like to say connective content, which is really the foundation of your brand. And Scott talked a lot about this, so we can even fly through this because he already put a stamp on this one. So I'm just going to be doubling down on everything that he said. But in order to build a personal brand, you absolutely have to be creating connective and captivating content. I like to view my social media as a media company, and we've never lived in a more powerful time. If you guys think about it, like this is so freaking dope. We all have a stage and a media company in our pocket. We no longer have to wait to be chosen to be on somebody's show or to be on the news or we no longer even really have to pay to advertise our products or our services. We can all build our own media companies from our phones for free. And so I like to view my social media platform and my online presence as my media company. And when I think about it like this, it makes it all it feels easier to me to make it unique to who I am. So it's like the media company of Jen, right? So I think of my feed, either Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, or even YouTube. That's your feed, like the feed that people go to when they're like, oh, you guys just referred me to somebody really cool. I'm going to go check them out. This is their resume or their brochure, right? Like you go there and like, oh, this is like the best of. This is the magazine. This is the curated version. This is the highlight reel. All those little boxes are kind of like the windows at Saks where you're window shopping and you don't know if you want to click and go inside yet, but you're seeing all of the different little thumbnails. And people should be able to get a good snapshot of your brand based on this feed by the feel of it, the thumbnails. It's the resume. It's the best of. Your stories are kind of like your blooper reel. They're your behind the scenes. So this is when, you get like the blooper reel at the end of the movie. I love thinking about it this way for my stories on the back end. And I also really like to use stories to sell because stories is when you can get very, 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 very connected because people feel like they're getting a snapshot at the insiders, like the insider scoop of the behind the scenes of your life. These disappear in 24 hours. So I really love to just take a screenshot of my laptop if I'm selling something cool and just be like, hey, DM me if you want to know more about this. Those actually convert really, really well. And Scott was talking a lot about the algorithm. And if we post salesy content in our feed, it will not get shown because of the algorithm, but stories have a much better shot. And we can, if you guys, I have a personal brand blueprint. If you go to the corner of the screen, there's a little QR code there. If you scan that and you get the blueprint, I have a whole strategy for stories in there on how to make your stories actually convert. It's really, really powerful. But your lives, like your Instagram lives, Facebook lives, TikTok lives, that's like your own personal talk show. So I've had this talk show on every morning, Get Ready With Me, for like 3 years. And back in the day, you would have to work really, really hard to get your own talk show. They would have to choose you. They'd have to give you a multi-million-dollar deal, or you would have to audition or try out or submit or pitch in order to get on somebody else's talk show. Now we all have our own stage, our own media company where we run the show. We can be ourselves for free at any moment in time. So if you guys want to just get a little sneak peek of what this looks like and how messy and imperfect it is every morning, it's a hot mess. It's like this.
Hi fam, happy Friday. Hello. How's everybody doing? Let's go. As you come in, let me know where you're joining me from today.
Imperfect, messy. My whole goal of this is to make everybody feel like we're just sitting in my living room or sitting in my bedroom together, getting ready for the day. And the cool thing about this is when you do a regular live talk show, you are building your own brand, your own show, and people are going to show up every day to see what you have to talk about. And if you have an audience there ready to hear what you have to say every single day, whatever it is you're selling, they're there listening to it. It's phenomenal. I've made millions of dollars off of this live. I've also built my confidence off of doing these lives because it really gets those reps in. And we'll talk about reps at the end. All right. Your podcasts and your YouTube videos are your streaming series or your TV network. So we all have our own Netflix. Think about Mr. Beast. He has like 41 million subscribers on his YouTube channel. Now, you don't need to have even 5,000, even 500, even 300, but you can build an amazing personal brand on YouTube and have your own damn TV show. Many people come to me and they're like, Jen, how do I get my own TV show? I'm like, you ready? Pick up your phone, open up YouTube or open up Instagram and go live or press record a freaking video, say, hi, this is my show. I'm Jen. This is what I like to talk about, and upload it. And you have your own show. It's really amazing. And this is something unbelievably cool. I compared CBS Evening News to Mr. Beast. Now, CBS Evening News average monthly viewership is 120 million views. For Mr. Beast's YouTube, it's 3 billion. It's quite different now. We live in a much different world. Now, again, I'm not telling you guys to go out and build a brand like Mr. Beast. But what I am empowering you to do is to understand that we all have our own platform where we don't have to be anybody else other than ourselves. And we can have an audience of viewers that follow us along the journey and evolve with us and connect with us and buy from us. And so empowering your sales force to build their own media company on their phones for free is a no-brainer. Now, here's the thing. There's no right or wrong way to create your captivating content for your media company. We don't want to get in the weeds of strategy. We really don't, because when it comes down to it, it really is all about just doing the thing that feels right for you, because most people won't do it at all. So we want to find, it's like working out. Find the way that you like to work out. Otherwise, most people are not going to do it. So let's make it enjoyable. The only wrong way is to not create at all. The only wrong way is to not create at all. There are so many best practices. Let's just get our teams creating and connecting, like Scott said, with their audience. How to start? Ask yourself, who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? I think that this is definitely stuff that you guys have all probably worked on with your teams. And what is your goal? Now, I have a different E at the end, Scott. I know yours is enlightened, but I like to use enroll, and I'll explain to you why. It's not selling anything, but it is enrolling. What is your goal for your audience? Which E is it? Is it educate, entertain, or enroll? If you're educating, right, here's some educational content.
What do you do if you want to start creating a personal brand, but the topic that you want to discuss is something that you're not an expert in yet? So you feel like an imposter every time you post, right? We've all heard about imposter syndrome. Well, it's accurate. You probably are an imposter. You shouldn't be going online and giving advice about something that you're not an expert in yet, about something that you're just learning about. That's okay. That's a normal part of life. We're all going to be a beginner or an enthusiast about something, a specific topic that we're really excited about before we're an expert. But the question is how can we make that part of our personal brand? How can we start to bring our audience along the journey for that learning process so that they can learn along with us? Once you figure that out, then you're completely free. to create content without feeling like an imposter?
So it can be that simple. I love face to camera videos like this. It goes back to what Scott was talking about truly connecting with your audience instead of creating like shows and viral dancing or whatever. Thinking about what is the audience actually thinking about late at night? Like, what are they curious about? What questions are they asking you in the DMs? What questions are they asking in the comments? And making a face to camera video to them, just as if you were walking down the street and you decided, oh, I need to send a video message to my friend. This is how I think about creating content. I pull up my phone and I say, I actually cut out the first part. I think about the friend that I'm going to be sending a video message to. So let's say I'm sending it to my husband, Chris. I'll be like, hey, Chris, and then I'll say the content so that the video comes off like I am simply creating a video message to a friend and you are the friend that's getting the video message. This content now converts way better in engagement, in comments, in shares, in DMs based on the video than any other type of content that I create. And then there's the entertaining ones. Like I love this post that I posted about my dad walking me down the aisle. It's like a tearjerker. You can post anything like that, which is entertaining for people. And then enrolling. Now you can directly enroll people into things. I don't think that is gone because I have been able to enroll people through Instagram posts, TikTok posts. You have to be very careful with best practices as far as what you put into your caption, as far as words, calls to action, because Instagram will not show it to as many people if they do think that you're promoting something. But rather than enrolling into something directly, I love enrolling people into an idea. So I think that is very similar to Enlighten. This is like a really cool idea and I'm going to get your buy-in on it, right? Or enroll them directly. But again, there's more information on how to directly enroll somebody in this little QR code because we can't go that deep into it. There are still ways to do it, but you have to be really careful. I will show you an example of a way that works in 1 second, actually. Once you've got that nailed down, it's time to think about the type of content you or your team enjoy creating. This is so important when building a personal brand. And I know that it seems so simple, like, duh, Jen, we're going to create what we enjoy. But if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it. And it's going to come off inauthentic. And the whole point of building a personal brand is to build a brand that is true to you, true to your direct sellers, to their individual uniqueness. So they have to enjoy it. So maybe it's face to camera videos. Maybe they love that, but maybe they hate that. Maybe they like writing blog posts and articles. Maybe they like using AI to write articles and they make incredible blog posts. Okay. Maybe it's engaging podcasts where they interview experts in their field. We'll talk about podcasts a little bit later on. But the key is to experiment and see what you love doing, because let's be real, if you don't enjoy it, you won't be consistent. Now, let me drop some tips on creating content that's not just good, but freaking amazing and connective and true to who you are. Real, raw content wins today with building a personal brand. I used to go viral a lot with these very produced videos of me on stage, and I've had to slow down with those because they look like wallpaper to people, because they look overproduced and people are just numb to it. It's like wallpaper. They just scroll on by. And so now the best pieces of content that I'm finding to build my personal brand and to truly connect with my audience are face to camera, real, truthful, authentic, messy, imperfect posts. Gone are the days where your feed needs to look like this. Do you guys remember this? When like everyone's feed looked like a robot made it and it was so perfect? Don't do that anymore. It does not matter. You can have different fonts, you can have different colors, you can have different everything. I call this the perfectly ugly Instagram. I don't know about you, but if I go to a social media platform and it's perfect and it looks like this, I don't think there's a human behind it. I think that there's like some kind of social media company or AI behind it, and I'm not going to communicate with it. I'm not going to connect with it. I'm not going to comment. I'm not going to DM because I'm not going to expect someone to answer. So I actually like to do weird things, like I put spelling mistakes in my reels sometimes. I put grammar mistakes in my captions to make sure that people know that a human being created it. And I know that might sound crazy to you, but I know some of the biggest marketers in this world that we're in, and they purposely misspell things in their subject lines on purpose because people are starting to see that everything is AI created and they want to see more humanness. They want to see a post, a piece of content, an email that they can actually connect to a real human behind. So I really, guys, tell your direct sellers, it's okay to have an ugly Instagram. It's okay. It does not have to be completely branded and perfect and beautiful. It's just holding them back. Here's a great example of somebody that completely took off just by doing face-to-camera videos in their car. This is Jefferson Fisher, and he is a trial lawyer. He now has 6.1 million followers. He's one of my favorite examples to use for building a personal brand that is totally authentic and imperfect and not flashy and fancy. His videos look like this. He sits in the car and he tells a tip, and he's got a thumbnail on top of the tip. 11.9 million views, 9.5 million views, 1.5 million views, 5.9 million views. It's unbelievably simple. He doesn't even need an editing team. He doesn't even need copywriters. He doesn't need anything. He just goes on in his car and films his face. And then he was able to get a book deal, and it became an instant New York Times best-selling book. And he's built an epic personal brand. He's been on all the top podcasts, and now he has leverage. Like we said in the beginning, your personal brand is leverage. So the next book that comes out, the next thing that he wants to sell, the next thing that he wants to offer, he has a trusted personal brand. And it all was built with him sitting in his car just talking to people as himself. Nothing fancy, nothing flashy. Number 2, tell stories. I think we've got somebody else that's coming up and speaking about storytelling soon. So we'll fly through this, but stories work on social right now, and stories work with sharing, building your personal brand, because people want to feel like they can connect to you and relate to you, and the human brain connects with stories. That's why I started off this entire thing with a little bit of a story about where I came from and who I am. Humans are wired for storytelling. Use personal anecdotes or case studies to illustrate your points and make your content more engaging. Here's a great way. Now, I told you I was going to show you how we can enroll people with Instagram posts without it getting taken down by the algorithm, and here's how you do it. This is a story in a carousel, an example of how I did it. So these are different slides for a carousel. I remember my very first speaking gig. It was the moment I realized I want to do this for the rest of my life. The only problem, I got paid $0. I couldn't help but think, how could this possibly be worth my time? How could I turn this into a career? That's the next slide. Then the next slide. Then I learned a game-changing truth. Stages aren't just about the paycheck. They're about impact, and they're about building your brand. When I started using stages to generate leads for my business, everything changed. Even if I wasn't getting paid up front, I was making money on the back end. But even more importantly, I was making an impact. As my brand grew, something incredible happened. The offers started to get paid to speaking started to roll in. That one shift turned my business into a stage booking machine. But I know it can feel overwhelming at first, not knowing where to start, struggling to craft the perfect talk, feeling stuck while others take the stage. That's exactly why I created the Get Paid to Speak challenge. And then I list out what you get in my challenge, and then I give them a call to action. Join the Get Paid to Speak challenge today. Click the link in my bio to save your spot. Now, this is in a photo in the carousel. In the caption, it doesn't say anything about clicking a link. You can also do it with DMing and have a ManyChat set up, but this post converted beautifully. I got a lot of signups through this post because it told a story and it provided value. So it kind of hit all of the E's. I don't know if it was so entertaining, but it educated. I guess it was entertaining because it told a story of my past, and then it enrolled people. And then keep it simple. I think people complicate things. I have a really good friend, Robert Croak. He is a financial expert, and he's totally taken off on TikTok and Instagram and built a very powerful personal brand. And all he does is walks around face to camera videos and gives tips. 3 tips on financial success. These are all, do you want to live a financially free dream life? Follow these 3 tips to help you along the way. He's been doing these videos of just on a walk, very imperfect, for a while now. And I'm going to show you the results. I texted him this morning and I said, Robert, I'm doing a training about the power of a personal brand today, and I want to use you as the most epic example. Can you share with me an estimate of how much revenue your personal brand has brought in indirectly, ballpark? He said, I would say 1 to 1.5 million in the last 2 years. So this is an asset, you guys. And we want to incentivize our direct sellers to get out there and build these brands, because if they build a personal brand that deeply connects with their audience and they're doing it in a way that's authentic and truthful to them, they'll never compete with anyone anymore, and they'll be the top. I don't even want to say in their field, because they'll all be the top. It's a way to eliminate the competition, because there is more than enough to go around, and people are going to choose the unique personality that they want to follow and buy from, but they can only do that if people are showcasing their unique personality and deeply connecting as themselves. All right, number 4, have a call to action, preferably to an opt-in. This is just really quick tactical strategy of what I usually do. I have ManyChat. If you guys don't know what ManyChat is, it's an AI tool that you can put into your Instagram specifically. You can put it into your Facebook as well, I believe, and it will DM people based on a trigger word. So I like to have a call to action just to get people onto my email list. And that's just a best practice for when you're creating social media content and building your brand. Because listen, you can build a huge brand on social media, but if one day Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram goes down and your entire brand is only on that platform and you don't have all of those people on your email list or on your text list, you have no way to communicate with them and you've lost everybody. So I think that I know it's a non-negotiable that everybody should be building their email database and their SMS database as they're building their personal brand and also communicating with their followers and their audience through email in an authentic, connective way. Remember, as you continue to refine your approach, you'll find that your content becomes more effective, your audience more engaged, and your creative journey more fulfilling, which is so important. Since I only have 30 minutes to go through this with you, you can grab the personal brand blueprint from that QR code, but we're going to keep on going because I have a few extra things to tell you, but I just wanted to drop that in right off the bat, right in the middle here, so you can grab that because there's so much more information to be told. All right, listen, creating content, amazing content is great, but if nobody sees it, what's the point? So Scott was talking about this. Many people are not seeing our content. In fact, most people that follow us are not even seeing our content because of the algorithm chaos. So how do we navigate this? That's like having the world's best party and forgetting to send out invitations, right? Like you have a party, you're posting all this great content. You're like, I love it, but like nobody's coming to your party. Nobody sees it. Nobody's there. That's so not fun. But I have a strategy for boosting visibility, and it has nothing to do with hacking the social media algorithm. And it has everything to do with building relationships and leveraging those relationships. I call this OPA, leveraging other people's audiences. And this is the best brand building strategy I have ever personally done and continue to personally do to build my brand, because we have no control over who sees our content. And we really still also don't have much control. If we cold DM someone and they have no idea who we are, I don't know why they're going to answer us. But if we DM someone and they heard us on one of their favorite influencers' podcasts, and they know who we are because they've seen us around, they've seen us on other people's shows, other people's lives, other people's platforms, they have more credibility and you have more credibility and influence in their eyes, so they're going to respond to you. So did we just become partners? Yep. We want your direct sellers to partner up with each other and find other people that have big audiences, or not even big audiences, just audiences that are interested in the topic that you talk about, and leverage each other's audiences. Partner up. A really great example of this is Slumberkins. This is a company that took off, but you don't know, it took off in the craziest way. So it's like little plush toys with books. It's a kid's product that 2 moms created. And this took off because it was on a podcast called Startup, where one of the founders went on and pitched one of the billionaires on this startup podcast. That podcast went viral, and this company took off in the mainstream media. So remember, I told you we were going to talk about how mainstream media plays a big role in building your personal brand. It just gives you that extra credibility. How 2 mothers are teaching social emotional learning skills for kids. There's the 2 moms. How cuddly creatures tell a story of emotional wellness. And then look at how this product literally took off from being featured on a podcast. For the second time, Slumberkins appears on the Inc. 5000 ranking number 450 with 3-year revenue growth of 1,093%. Amazing. And for me personally, when I was doing my book launch for Be Seen, it was the Ed Milet show. It was that podcast, that YouTube video, me leveraging his audience that really exploded my brand. It was not a piece of content. It was not my social media strategy. It was meeting Ed, building that relationship and getting on his platform because he was able to showcase me to a bunch of other people. And that up-leveled my brand just by association, just by proximity. Because if people are watching Ed and they trust Ed, they immediately understand that, well, if Ed trusts this girl, then I guess I do too. And this was the pivotal moment during my book launch. Again, it was not a social media strategy. It was not a viral reel. It was this podcast and YouTube video. Number 3, reps. The key to brand recognition, it's all in the reps. What is the key to success? Scott mentioned it a little bit. It is true. It is true. However way you break it down, whether you're DMing people and connecting with people, or you're posting, or you're creating content, or you're doing other people's audiences, whatever, you have to be consistent. It can't be one and done. I want to remind you all, my first post on my Instagram page was July 29th, 2018. My first viral reel did not happen until November 9th, 2022. I was posting for that long before anything happened, posting every day, multiple times a day. The only way you fail is if you stop. So we need to be constantly cheering on our direct sellers to be consistent, incentivizing them to be consistent with whatever strategy they choose. Because not only is it going to help them build their audience if they're consistent, but it's also going to help them build their confidence. Remember, consistency isn't about perfection. It's about showing up again and again, even when it feels like no one is watching. And the more consistent you are, the more they'll start to pay attention and the more confident you will become. I can only share this with you personally because of my actual experience going live every day for 3 years. When I started going live, 3 people were watching, 6 people were watching. Now I have a show, and it didn't happen overnight. It happened by doing it again and again and again. And keep in mind, everything is constantly changing on social. That's why Scott opened with what's changing. It's always going to be changing. So I look at every piece of content as a rep or an experiment to collect more data on what's working for me and what isn't. It's unbelievably important that we're just pumping out rep after rep after rep, whether it is a DM strategy, or it is a YouTube strategy, or a podcast strategy, or doing carousels or doing reels. We're collecting data over time to see what works and what doesn't. And a great new way to do this, which I really love, and I'm going to end on this, I've been really playing with this in a big way. On Instagram, there is something called trial reels. And this is a great way to flex your consistency muscles and kind of like test out reels before you show it to your followers for 72 hours. So the way that trial reels work is you can post them. Let me show you. Well, you can like dance like nobody's watching. Literally, you can go crazy and you can post as many reels as you want. And they don't get shown to your followers. They only get shown to people who are not following you. Meaning you can see the data analytics based on what normal people, when I say normal people that are not on your follower list, they don't know who you are. You can test and you can see within 72 hours which reels perform the best. And then you can use those reels based on the data. Or you can continue to just post trial reels to bring in new audience members because they're being shown to people that don't know who you are. So all you have to do to create trial reels is you just go to this little trial button and you just toggle it over to the right, and you can have a whole collection of trial reels. And this is a great way to get reps, be consistent, because you can post as many as you want and it feels like nobody sees them because they're not on your feed. I would incentivize you guys to tell your direct sellers to play with Instagram trial reels. But listen, at the end of the day, we could teach you all the strategies. You guys can train and teach your sellers, your sales force, all of the things to do. They can know all the things to do. In fact, we don't even need to teach strategy anymore because there's ChatGPT and there's AI, and anything that you need to know how to do, you can instantly look up. But what we can't teach is courage. And that's what we need to inspire all of our sales force to have. To be seen, to have the courage to be seen messy, imperfectly, to be themselves, to be authentic, to be truthful, and to do it again and again and again. Because there's something so cool that happens. When you allow yourself to be seen as who you are, you start to build an audience of people that are attracted to you, which means they are completely aligned. And sales feels easy when you've built a brand like that. You need to have the courage to start. I wish I could keep going. I wish I could, but we are out of time. I probably went over my time, but I'm here for all of your questions. So I guess we're going to bring Scott back up. I think that's what we're going to do. And we can go into some questions about personal branding. That is it for me. Scott, what's up?
Oh, I love it. You guys, you absolutely motivate me. I wrote so many notes down. I appreciate everything you talk about. You really do give me the confidence to want to do this. I love everything you speak about.
Thank you, Scott.
I want to ask some questions, okay? Because I got some questions coming in from the comments. And, first of all, I want everyone to know Jen is amazing on the stage. Jen, we have, I think, about 30 some companies being represented here today in direct selling. So we have a lot of conference rooms with people in them. I mean, Jen can help your field so much because, Jen, I think what's hard is me as a corporate social media or marketing person, or in training my 50,000 sales force, I have a hard time thinking about telling them to be messy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I think from a corporate point of view, we want them to be polished and we want them to represent the brand. So how do we deal with that at a corporate level to say, tell your own story? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's actually a really interesting question. And I have an exact example. I'm working with a company right now and I'm consulting for them. And when I came in, they were a very polished brand online. They were very like every font needed to be the same. They needed to be very curated. Every single Instagram post was like, it had to go through an entire production line of everybody approving it. And I was like, okay, if we want to grow on social media, we need to post more than one post a day. And the girl that I was talking to was like, I can't post more than one post a day. Every post needs to be so perfect that it takes me like 3 days to create one piece of post or one piece of content. I'm like, we need to change that. So I took this company and I did an experiment, and I was like, are you going to just follow me? If it doesn't work, then we can go back to the old way. And they're like, fine, Jen, we'll try it. I'm like, okay. And I was nervous. I was like, I don't know. This works for me, but we're going to try this here. And I had them start to create more intimate content. It doesn't mean that it didn't have the brand feel. We have the brand feel, but instead of posting very produced photos and videos, I had the social media girl making selfie content and talking about the brand. And I had we had different customers that were making videos. We did contests to have the customers make videos about the product, and we were posting those. They looked imperfect. They looked a little messy. However, what happened was we went from posting 1 time a day to posting 4 times a day. And our followers, just from 2 months of me working with them, I went from 7,000 to 12.7 thousand followers, and the engagement skyrocketed. And it did not take the brand presence down or the brand alignment or anything. All it did was increase sales, increase followers, and increase engagement. So I do believe that people are people. And sometimes what I like to say, Scott, excuse me if this bothers anyone, but everybody poops. Everybody, even corporate, everybody poops. Everybody's a human. Everybody's a person. So even if you're a corporate person or a corporate company, you're still speaking to human beings, and humans connect with other humans the same way. So even if you've got a very professional brand, you can still create human content with that same brand vibe. And we proved that. So I hope I answered your question.
You did. And I think you gave 2 really beautiful nuggets there, which is, it's interesting because I think I even said it somewhere in mine where it's suddenly brands are following the creators, not creating. Yeah. Like brands are actually taking their lead from what people say about their brand versus telling people what they should think about their brand, right?
Yes.
That's the beauty of social media. So I think what you just did is you gave permission for these corporate teams. And you're right, we deal with them all day long where, it's going to be another week getting it through compliance and approvals and this because you can't talk about the benefits of then move beyond that and just talk about the personality of it. And I think you said it so great. I mean, we are in a phase of personality based marketing now, not product based.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely. Now, okay. So that said, then what would you recommend? You showed how personal brand equals leverage, and you talk about people becoming influencers and showed some very successful people. How would you, like, if I have to motivate 50,000 people, they just may be, these are gig economy. These are, side hustle type. I just want to make a few extra $100 a month, that kind of a mentality a little bit, or a lot of them do want the whole career as well. How do you kind of combine this to be a general strategy for anybody? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
It's unbelievably simple. Like I'll give you another example. I love to just use examples and stories. My husband sends me all these viral videos all the time because I'm not paying attention that much to Twitter and stuff. There's this guy named Brandon, and when he started his TikTok channel, I think he had about 35 followers. and he's a singer and he sings just like Michael Jackson. And he decided to post this random video of him singing The Way You Make Me Feel, and he sounds just like MJ, exactly. And posted that one video. That he had 35 followers. That one video went crazy viral. One shot. You have to be in the game for it to happen. It went crazy viral, millions and millions of views. He now has millions of followers on TikTok, and he was signed by Michael Jackson's old producer, and is now going to be like this famous guy. That's the power of social media. So here's the thing, Scott. Like, I think this is my personal opinion, and anyone can think anything, and you can totally disagree with me if you want to. But I think we're very, very wrapped up in strategy and thinking we need to do it the right way, or there's only one right way or one wrong way. And to be completely honest, the world is our oyster with social media. Try things. You could go viral overnight. It does happen, and your whole life can change. But if you're not in the game, then you can't get the results. So that's why I said reps. We learn by doing. What we need to incentivize our teams to do is to start before you're ready, is to do it anyway, is to feel the fear, oh, I don't want to be cringe, oh, blah, blah, blah. Inspire them to put it in the passenger seat of the car, pull up the camera and make the first video terrified. Because if you've got 100 videos, you've got 100 more shots at getting the sale, at going viral, at getting people listening and watching, than if you have one. Then you got one shot.
So one way that might be good, again, I'm just thinking this from a corporate point of view, because we deal with corporate all day long. And obviously there's compliance and this and products and benefits and all these things that we need to train our field on, that we think we need to train our field on. But what you're saying, and what I am in complete agreement with, is we need to train our sales force, not just on the benefits of this product that's going to make your skin so healthy or anything like that, but on the lifestyle of it. They're like how to extract their own story, their own. I get it all the time, Jen, where people say, I don't know how to tell my story. And you just showed that beautiful example of you on stage, or you with a group, and she literally gave you her personal brand just by telling you one story. Mm-hmm. So how do we empower our marketing teams to empower their field to pull those stories? You know,
there's so many ways. Absolutely. And you're so I love that we're on the same track with this. I think that it has a lot to do with inspiring people to have conversations rather than tell people things. So like what you were saying, making it about connection. So I always like to use the example of going out to lunch with a friend or sending a video note to a friend when you're creating your content. So Scott, if you and I were out to lunch and we were just chatting and you asked me a little bit about myself, I would tell you a story, and I would give you a fun example of like why I really love this product. Oh my God, I wore it one day and it made my skin look amazing. And then I went on this date. I was crazy nervous, but then he commented on my skin. It was a moment, we would just chat and it would feel really normal. Yeah. And so when people ask me, like, how do I communicate my message without feeling cringe or weird or like having to know what to say or forgetting the words, I'm like, envision you are sitting at lunch with a friend or out for a walk with a friend, or you're making a video note to somebody that you love and care about, and tell them a story about how you got XYZ. And make it so conversational that is exactly what you would say if you were hanging out with a friend. Because when we're hanging out with people that we love and we're just telling a story about ourselves, or we're trying to provide value, or we're trying to solve a problem, we don't forget the words. We don't get nervous. We don't really act cringy because we don't really care. And the best creators out there do this with ease because they envision that there's one person on the other side of the phone that's listening to them. And the acronym that I like to use, Scott, is HOPE. HOPE. It stands for help one person every day. So if you can just envision that one person, we inspire our sales force. I want you to think about your one person. And here's a really fun hack that you guys can all teach your people when they go out and make videos. I do this every day. I pick up my phone and I press record and I say, I'll be like, hey, Scott, and I'll talk to Scott and I'll cut out the hey, Scott part. Because if I say, hey, Scott, my brain thinks I'm just telling a story to Scott. And then you just cut that hey, Scott part out. And the more authentically we can just hang out with our people, the more we're going to connect and the easier it's going to be for us to share our truth and our story with our personality and our vibe.
It's so good. I love that. It's actually something that a let's say I'm in charge of the social media and training at this company, and I need to teach these people. I would want to write my scripts or my training like I'm talking to one person. Same thing, right? I don't need to talk all marketing speak, like it's going to make your skin feel wonderful. Yeah, I need to just be me, but that could play out in even training the masses. The same kind of concept. I love that. My last question to you is because the problem and solution.
Yeah.
And I know we're a little over, but it's okay because your stuff is so good. If we talk about the problem and the solution, where does my personality line up between problem and solution if I'm creating content for it?
Yeah. So with problem and solution, I always like to think about the FAQ and tying a story to an FAQ. That's how my brain works. And when I say FAQ, it's like the frequently asked questions. So whether it's frequently asked questions on social, people that are asking me questions, or it's friends and family asking me questions all the time. And I know what are these core problems that my person has, my avatar, whoever, like what my product, the problem that it solves, who's the person that is struggling with that problem, and what are the questions that that person is asking me or is asking in their mind. I think about that question and I tie a story to answer that question rather than an answer. Answers are boring. Nobody likes answers. People like to visualize a real story. And you know who does this really well, actually? Tony Robbins does this beautifully. If you ever listen to any interview with Tony Robbins, any interview, even from way back in the day, it's crazy. Now you'll pay attention, Scott.
I will.
The interviewer will ask him a question and he'll answer with a story. So they'll be like, so Tony, how do I build confidence? And he'll be like, well, one day I was taking my car to the car wash and I had to da-da-da. Because if you can tell a story of how you solved that problem, finally it'll click for someone. But if you just tell them what to do, no one wants to be told what to do. No one wants facts and bullet points and frameworks. People want to relate. So I think about what's the question that my customer is asking and what's a story that I can tell that has the answer inside of it. And that's how I get to solution. And then at the end, you say, here's why I'm telling you this story. And you give them the takeaway.
Oh my God, that's so good, Jen. This was not pre-planned, was it?
No.
But it's so great. That is problem, story, solution.
Yep.
That is so good. I love it. So guys, when we follow up on all of this, we'll make sure, and you put your QR code up there, but if you guys are interested in talking to Jen about speaking or doing any training with your teams, we'll make sure you can get in direct contact with Jen because she is one of the best. Jen, thank you so much for taking time today to be part of Social Media Day on Social Media Day.
This was so fun. Thanks for hanging out with me, Scott. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you, everybody. It was so good to be here. Can't wait to see you in the DMs. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Jen. Mwah. Same to you. All right, everybody, that was cool. Well, we've got more coming right up. We're going to take a little stretch break, okay? So if you want to get up, stretch, use the restroom, we'll take about 5 minutes. Multibrain puts together this program each and every year. We do one for corporate, one for the field. We'll be doing one for the field later in September. So stay tuned for that. But this one's all for you guys and your internal teams. I hope you're having a great time. We're going to take, I love the emphasis on storytelling. I love the way she just ended that. It was brilliant on problem, story, solution. That's a winner. That's a keeper for me. But we're going to take a quick break. We're going to put a little message up here from Multibrain. We are the sponsor of this event and produce it. So I hope you'll stick around for a little 1-minute message about a new product we have. And then we'll see you back here in 5 minutes. Thank you, everybody.
Multibrain, the leader in social selling tools for over 12 years, is proud to introduce BAM, the ultimate app for organizing and sharing your marketing content. Keep all your texts, images, and videos in one place for easy access. Share your content anytime, anywhere with just a tap. With BAM's mobile keyboard, access directly from any app instantly. Collaborate with teams seamlessly. Create, share, and organize content together. And personalize your content with BAM's powerful creator tool. Ready to level up your social selling? Get BAM today for free. Effortless content management is just a tap away.
right. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you got a little stretch break there because we are going to round out and keep this ball going and have some more fun. You know, our next speaker, I have to tell you, I met, I think 5-6 years ago. She's from Australia, and she has kind of come onto the scene here in the US over the past 3-4 years, just with crazy good success. Typically, when we've had her on social media days in the past, she's been kind of my compadre, my partner in crime. We've become very close friends. I think the world of her. She thinks just the exact way everybody in the field should think because she actually came from the field. So you can't beat that. But I do consider her a great friend. Usually she's up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. to do these, but she's actually touring the US right now, speaking at a lot of conventions. We just so happen to catch her in between. I think she's doing one tonight later on, and then all this week and all next week. So we caught her at the perfect time to come give a little bit of her wisdom. So would you please join me in a wonderful welcome for my amazing dear friend, Sam Hind.
Well, hello, everybody. I am so super excited to be joining you guys today. And I've got to say, as Scott just mentioned, I am even more excited by the fact that it is not 3 a.m. in the morning as it normally would be for me when I'm joining you guys for Social Media Day. So I feel like I'm part of the crew today. And can't wait to chat with you guys a little bit about what's going on in the social media world right now. But say hi to me in the chat. I know that Jen asked everybody to share where they were from, but I would love to know right now if this is your first social media day or if you've been to one of these events before. Tell me in the chat, because I was talking to Scott about this last night, and I realized I can't believe how many years it's been that we've been doing this for, but this is what, maybe the 5th or 6th social media day, and I think they're just getting better and better every time. Now, I'm also super excited because Jen and Scott and I didn't actually talk a huge amount about what we were going to be talking about, and yet what we're going to be sharing is obviously right on the money because we are all mirroring each other. And it's so much so that a lot of the words that I wanted to specifically speak to you guys about have already been mentioned. Things like story selling, and we're going to be talking a lot about authenticity, etc. Now, I do have some slides here, so we'll pop them up because I want to share a few things with you as we go through today. But you'll notice that while I'm a social media trainer and coach, I'm not about more tech. I want to be really clear about that, because a lot of people, when they first see me present, they expect that I'm going to come at you with all of this technical stuff that you need to be better at. You need to use more tools. You need to be more tech savvy. You need to be doing all of these complicated things, and I'm going to use jargon and words that you don't understand. And I want to just be very, very clear here. I'm going to mirror exactly what these other two amazing humans have said and remind you that at the other end of that computer screen, at the other end of that mobile device is a human being. We don't need to be better at tech. We need to use the technology and the tools we have at our fingertips to enhance who we already are. And I want to also just encourage you, whether you're looking at getting some tips today for you from a corporate perspective to, learn how to better brand yourself using the social media tools out there today, or whether you're looking to communicate these tools to your fields, to your brand partners, and help them better promote your brand and protect your brand as well by getting them to share in a compliant and effective way. It comes back to the human element. And the title I wanted to give you guys today was Show Up Anyway, because if we wait for perfect, and I know a lot of people do wait for perfect, we've worked with hundreds of thousands of direct sellers over the last 8-9 years. And again and again and again, I hear the same thing coming up. And that is, I don't want to do it till I can get it right. Or I haven't done it yet because I haven't got it perfect. Or when I've practiced more, then I'm going to get it right. Or I need to do more research. Or I'm not good enough to show up on camera, so I need to do more of what other people are doing. And this is absolutely flawed thinking. And even more so today, it's going to work against you if you don't start showing up in a messy, imperfect way. And I think that's a really exciting thing. So let's jump on in. I want to talk to you guys about a couple of key things today. So a few things specifically I want to speak to are, number one, understanding the evolving landscape of social media and direct selling right now. The reason I specialize in direct selling is because the way this industry does social media is so different to any other. And I have worked in many industries. When I stepped out of my own direct selling business and moved into a marketing and sales career, a whole nother story for another day, I ended up consulting to various different companies in lots of industries, from accountants to restaurants to retailers, even people who were in recruitment and much, much more, all very difficult industries, by the way, to promote on social media. But my heart really was for this industry. And the thing about this industry is it's so incredibly unique, but it also has such an incredible opportunity as well. The other thing I want to speak into today was something that both Scott and Jen really drilled home, was that it's also about curating by implementing storytelling. I call it story selling frameworks to foster genuine connections. And I'm going to give you my framework today that you can communicate back to your brand partners or use it from a corporate perspective that will be very powerful for you. I also want to share some data-driven insights to help you make some informed strategies around your social media plan. And also, I want to share with you guys a strategy that I talk about in my brand new book that is being released today. And I'll tell you a bit about that at the end. But the CARE method for sustainable social media practices across the board, whether you are in the field, whether you're in corporate, whatever that might be. So let's get stuck into it. I hear a lot of people saying, Facebook, does it really work anymore? Should we put our attention there? Or should we be using other platforms? Should we be using TikTok? Or should we be using Instagram? And the answer is all of the above. But it's not about being everywhere and spreading yourself super thin. It's about understanding where the opportunity is for you, for your brand partners, for your company. In other words, where is your audience? But the great news is social media is not shrinking. In fact, it is growing at a rapid pace. Now, another very interesting statistic is that it's predicted that by the end of this year, through online sales and transactions, social media is projected to generate over $1.2 trillion by the end of this year. And this number is growing at a dramatic pace. So it's not that there's not any opportunity anymore. There is huge opportunity. It's more about the fact that we need to be where our audience is. And as Jen said, we need to be getting their attention by being real and relatable. But that brings me to one of the greatest issues we face at the moment. And that is that we're seeing a common trend. It is not getting any better. And that is that brand partners are facing a lot of the same challenges they have for many years, and we need to encourage them and inspire them to get out of their comfort zone and show up and be themselves, because they're still experiencing a massive overwhelm when it comes to platform choices. You know, it's one thing to show up and say, hey guys, we've got all of these great tools that you can be using. You know, here's some information on how to use TikTok, or here are some real trends that you can try. All of this stuff is wonderful. But when we give them so much to do, it leaves them wondering, where should I even start? The next fear that we're seeing holding brand partners back or creating problems with them actually cutting through the noise is that they have a fear of appearing inauthentic. We don't want to be that person that hounds and hassles family and friends in order to grow our business. It's not a sustainable practice, and it's also not working with the platforms and their preferences. We'll talk about those in a little moment. And so there's this fear from people that, well, I don't really know how to show up, and people don't want to hear my story. People don't care about what I care about, and it is the exact opposite. To me, the experience that I've had in this industry is that it is more about the inspiration and motivation of an individual being courageous than it is about their technical tools. If someone can simply understand, I don't need to be more tech savvy, I just simply need to show up, the success is right there ready to be had straight away. And then the next thing here is, of course, the lack of consistent content strategy, not showing up regularly. I love that concept that Jen spoke about, reps. It is about reps. It's about showing up consistently. I often use the analogy, if you were to go to the gym, you want to, gain some muscle strength. You're not going to, you want to tone up or lose weight. You're not going to go to the gym once or twice over a weekend and then get mad because it didn't work and stop doing it. Or if you wanted to get healthy, you wouldn't eat 7 apples in one day and then go, well, that didn't work, I'm going to stop. So likewise with social media, it is about consistently showing up over a period of time. And remember, it's as much about learning about people as anything else. Another thing that I want to remind you of is we're seeing a lot of changes in the way users are using the platforms. I'm going to talk to you in just a moment about the algorithm and the shifts that we've seen there. But just before I do, I want to remind you, it's not about the shifts in the algorithm, it's also about the shifts in the users. And so a few of those shifts go from anything from the fact that people are utilizing not just video consistently. We're seeing over 50% of people are spending over 50% of their time on video. 95% of that is without sound. But then the flip side of that is dark shares are dramatically increasing. So what's a dark share? A dark share is where people don't share to their feed, they share privately. So I want to remind you that just because people aren't interacting doesn't mean they're not watching. Once upon a time, I would have got up here and I would have spoken to you about the fact that engagement is a direct indicator of the results of how your social media is working for you. And it is not the case anymore. We can't use engagement as a flag to tell us if our content is working. It's one of numerous things that we can look at, but it's not the only one anymore because people aren't necessarily interacting directly on content when they see it and it gets their attention. So aside from user shifts, what are we seeing shifting with the algorithm itself? So here are a few things in 2025 to keep in mind. First of all, the algorithms within Meta that we're speaking about specifically today, so this is Facebook and Instagram I want you to pay attention to here, is that it's now prioritizing engagement over quantity. So it's not just engagement, it's the type of engagement. This is what's really interesting. So if you just get a lot of thumbs ups or cools or yeah or whatever it might be, they're actually looking for meaningful interactions. This is why when you get literally conversations happening below posts, that post is going to rank higher. It's going to get pushed out further to more people outside of your existing network or to more people even within your own network. So meaningful interactions are really important to be looking for. This is partly because of that rise in clickbait, which is where people are telling people what to comment. If you want to get my freebie, type the word XYZ. Or, if you want me to tell you the secret, say blah, 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 or put, such and such an emoji in. Telling people what to say isn't giving people that freedom of connection and conversation anymore, which is really what makes this industry so powerful. It's also prioritizing video content, but not just video content, short form video. Now, this is no news. It's not new. This has been this way for a little while, but it's also important to remember those short, sharp videos are getting people's attention, and the algorithm's paying attention to that. The other thing that's very interesting is, and I remember Scott and I talked, it must have been maybe a year and a half ago now, when we had that big shift in groups and the third-party apps not having the same access to groups that they once had. There were a lot of people saying, oh, what's happening? A group's dying. Do we need to get off the platform? Do we need to go somewhere else? And I said, hold up. Groups are not dying. Facebook's cleaning them up. They're about to take on a new lease of life, and that's exactly what we've seen. Community is being prioritized. So there's a big focus right now by Facebook on group activity and personal profile posting. Why? Because it's about real, relatable human connection. It does not mean that business pages don't still have a great opportunity and a great place. But it means that we can use what I call the trifecta, which is all three of those things, to grow business by attracting new leads, converting those leads, and retaining people in our business. I call it the stool that we need to have in our business. You've got those three legs that you need to be upstanding. If you're not attracting, you're not converting, or you're not retaining, your business stool is going to fall over. And so using those three different tools is going to be a really powerful way of doing that. Next up is authenticity is rewarded. The rise of the no filter trend continues. And I love this. In other words, the more human you are, the more relatable you are. And Jen touched on this when she talked about the business brands getting out there and just sharing real relatable human content. This is the thing we need to remember. Right now, we are seeing over 40% of all content is being generated by AI. That's a number given to us by Meta. They're telling us that almost the majority, not quite, but it's getting close, almost the majority of content is not even coming from a human being, which leaves people asking the question, what's real? What can I actually relate to? What can I believe? And as Scott said, and I'm going to repeat this again, is people buy from those they like, know, and trust. They buy from brands or people or businesses or join business opportunities that they feel that they can relate and connect to. But the biggest shift is this. The algorithm is by far rewarding relationship over reach. It's about the one, not the many. And I think that's the big message today. Like I said, Jen and Scott and I did not talk before putting our presentations together, and yet we're all saying the same thing. Speak to one person, connect with people individually, show them that they matter, because right now people feel like they're being spoken to like the many, and that's not what we're relating to at the moment. Now, another thing I want to speak into here as well is the recipe side of things. And so you might have heard me talk about this before if you've ever heard me speak at an event, but I want to really come back to this, because I think if we're not considering this in what we do as a company from a corporate perspective, but also in the training that we give brand partners or the field, then we're going to be falling short, because at the moment, it is absolutely not about producing random content, what I call throwing spaghetti at the wall and waiting to see what sticks. It's about really honing in on who you are. What is your voice? What is your passion? What is your skill set, and who are you speaking to? There's no one way to do social media, just like there's no one recipe for a cake. We all know that there are millions of cake recipes out there, right? But there's a formula. The formula looks a little bit like this. If you want to bake a cake and you want your cake to be successful, you're going to need to have a binding component, a body component, a flavoring component, and a sweetening component. But what those components are, what those ingredients are going to differ dramatically dependent on a number of things. First of all, who am I serving this cake to? Is it someone who hates chocolate? Is it someone who's gluten intolerant? Is it someone who actually prefers savory over sweet? I need to take all those things into account before I come up with a recipe for that audience. The next thing is, what's your personality? I'm not going to go ahead and bake chocolate cakes for everyone if I don't love chocolate, if I don't even like chocolate. That wouldn't be very authentic of me to do that, would it? But the last thing here that's really important when it comes to your social media content is remembering you need to start where you're at. And a lot of people in the field, I think, feel often that they have to jump way ahead of where they are. And that's not true. That feeling of, oh my goodness, I need to learn how to create this really complicated, trending type of a reel to be successful, or I need to be more like that influencer out there, or the leader who's grown their business over years in order to be successful. And none of that's true. So you want to be baking a cake. You're not going to start with a bomb Alaska if you've never baked a cake before. You're going to start maybe with a basic sponge cake and then grow your skill set. Add in an extra little slightly more complicated icing or something like that to grow your skill set and learn. But the last thing here I want to be really clear about when it comes to creating your recipe is this. Be prepared to fail. Start messy. Show up messy. Don't feel like you have to get it right at the very beginning. I mean, I can tell you the first time I baked a cake, I certainly didn't get it right. And when I try something a little more complicated, or I put together a new recipe that I've never tried before, things are not going to be exactly right, and I'm going to need to make tweaks. The social media content that you come up with as a corporate team or that your field come up with needs to consider all of these things. What ingredients am I going to incorporate into my recipe? But also, what am I willing to just have a go at, put out there, but monitor it? Look at what people are saying. See how they're interacting if they do, but keep trying. And remember, it's about consistency and regularly showing up. I want to give you my little social media recipe here and share with you a couple of little tips to help along the way. The first thing is this to incorporate into your recipe: curiosity, cooking with heart. This is my formula now. So when you look at baking a cake, you want to have the formula, but the ingredients you can insert into that formula can look like lots of different things. So here's the formula: curiosity. Remember, it comes from heart. It comes from being human, real, and relatable, not having the technical tools. The amount of people I see using AI to write all of their content and forgetting to insert themselves in there is actually really scaring me, because people don't want to question what you put out there. It's okay to use AI tools, and we're going to hear some great stuff on AI today during Social Media Day. We've got a very special speaker coming in. But I want to remind you that it comes back to how we share genuinely and authentically our voice. The next thing is conversation, putting the social back into social media. It is about inviting. It's about interacting. It's about what I call dating. You might have seen me at one of the DSA events sharing my dating analogy, because we can't jump straight to marriage. It's not about, hi, how are you? Will you buy from me? Hi, how are you? Will you join me? Hi, how are you? Will you come into the business with me? It's about, hey, how are you? Tell me about you. Let me get to know you. And then when it's the right time, you can have those conversations. The next thing that we got to include in our recipe, this is an absolute critical must, is value. Teaching, inspiring, relating, asking yourself, what do I know about my audience, this person I'm serving my cake to? And how do I provide value that has them going, wow, if this is what I get for free, what am I going to get when I actually do business with this person? If people are asking themselves the question, you're already winning. And then the next thing here, which we're going to be talking about a bit today, and I want to give you my formula here, is story selling. Because people buy what they feel. They won't remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. And stories are so incredibly powerful. You know, I will often do a little demonstration when I'm presenting of the coffee chocolate analogy. If you've ever seen me do this before, I'll quickly explain it to you, but it has a huge impact every time we do it. And that is, I'll show up on a stage and I will literally start with a sell of a bag of coffee. a cold, hard, cheesy, nasty sell of this bag of coffee. And I'll tell everyone in the audience that this is the best coffee in the world. And I'll make all these claims about it. And I'll tell them that they absolutely need to buy this coffee, no matter whether they like coffee or not. And then I'll put it over on the side of the stage, just like we would if we were sharing a link. And I'll tell them if they want the coffee, they can just come up, leave their money and grab it. In other words, I am completely removing myself from the conversation and the equation. Later on in my presentation, I'll ask what I would consider to be a social media engagement question. And I'll ask everyone in the room, if you had to give up one of the following and you could only keep one for the rest of your life, which would you choose? Coffee or chocolate? And when I do this, I then separate the room. The interesting thing I always point out is half the room put their hand up to say they'd keep coffee. My question then is, where were all of you a few moments ago when I sold this bag of coffee? And the answer is it's not about the product, because people aren't buying the product. They're buying the feeling of connection and the story. I later on share a little story about where that coffee actually truly comes from, which is a little local barista just below my office in Launceston, Tasmania. I live in a little island in Australia, and there's this incredible barista below my office who roasts his own beans every day. And just before I come to the US, every time I go down there and I ask him for his latest a bag of his latest roasted beans to bring over and use for this demonstration. And he loves it. He loves hearing a story about the demonstrations and how they go and how people respond. And he knows this story. And so he'll always give me his latest little batch to give away. The second I do that, every time I get a bunch of people run to the stage and grab that bag of coffee. But then what I do is I segment the audience and I speak just to the people that put their hands up and said chocolate. And I tell them the story about the world's rarest chocolate from my perspective, why I love it, but also the story behind where it came from. By the end of that demonstration, people are drooling and everyone in the room wants to try the chocolate. The demonstration being is it's not about the product. If I simply held the chocolate up and said, this is the world's rarest chocolate, you all need to try it, it would have very little impact because I'm not inserting emotion, I'm not inserting story, and I'm not taking people along for a journey. The thing we've got to keep in mind is whether it's coming from head office or the field, the stories we tell are the key. And as Jen said so beautifully, it's not about big, long, drawn-out stories. Stories can be micro stories. They can be carousels. They can be a little bit of text on an image. They can be in the image themselves. You can tell a story with very little text. But the question is it coming from you? Are you telling people what they need to hear in order to get them to do what you want them to do? Or are you sharing things from your perspective? Because that's what people care most about. And then last but not least here, we've said it, I think I've said it already 2 times. Here's 3, and I know the other 2 have said it, and I'm sure we're going to hear it again, is consistency. Regularly showing up. Your rhythm creates momentum. Make your own rhythm. This is so important. Now, little repeat here. People buy from those they like, know, and trust. We've heard this again and again, but it's something that we tend to forget because we already know our products. We already know our business, and we're so excited by that. But as I said, over 40% of all content right now is being created by AI, which has people going, what can I trust? Trust is more important now than it's ever been before, but it's also harder to earn than it's ever been. The secret to building that trust is authenticity and your story. Like I said, people don't buy products, they buy stories. So let me share a little bit with you about story selling. And this is a word I made up. I love it. I repeat it all throughout my book. I've got an entire chapter on the art of story selling, the importance of it and how to do it. But story selling is simple. It's sharing what you care about. It's sharing your passion. It's sharing the business and the products, not from the perspective of what I think you need to hear. It's sharing it from my perspective. Here's how it changed my life. Here's how it impacted me. The thing is, people aren't buying the product, they're buying you. Now, we see this again and again with companies. I love sharing on my podcast founder stories of direct selling companies. I get founders on regularly and we'll get them to talk about their story, about how the company started, because to me, this is more important than what the products are. It's more important than the business opportunity, because no one cares about that till they care about you and they know you care. When they hear that story about someone sitting around their lounge room, they had an idea and now the whole family comes in and helps create something, and look at where you are now, that's powerful. So story selling comes back to why you're in it, why you're doing it. And it also helps position the brand partners in the field as the hero as well. So whether it's coming from corporate or whether it's the field, it's the same thing. Share stories to establish credibility, create curiosity, and be human, which all equals selling without selling. And we all want that because it's so much easier to do than hounding and hassling, right? So I want to just quickly share with you guys my story selling framework. Now, this is from my book. It is super simple to follow. I'm probably not telling you anything new here, but it's about how we apply it to ourselves. How do we apply it to what we do? So first of all and again, this can be in 2 lines. This can be in an image. It doesn't need to be a big drawn out long promotion of any sort. So first is the moment. Share something real and relatable. What was the moment you found yourself in? You know, we saw a couple of examples of this over the last 2 speakers. The emotion. This is really important, and often something people forget is to insert how they feel, what they were feeling. When I help people create their social media content strategy, which is their recipe, their cake recipe, if you like, the first question I ask them is, how do you want your audience to feel? Because whether you do this intentionally or accidentally, you are going to leave people with an emotion. So why not be intentional about it? Why not ask yourself, am I helping people feel this with this piece of content? Or what are people going to feel when they see this piece of content from me? So when you share your emotion, remember that. The next one is the shift. What changed for you? Then we've got the connection, the learning or the insight. And then last but not least is the offer or the opportunity. Now, we don't need to do this on every single post, but if we're going to do it, a gentle invitation or call to action can be very powerful. One of the things that I do encourage people to do is use what I call the date, ask strategy. So if you were going to connect with people on social media, if you were going to connect with people in real life, if you were going to get to know someone, you would date them a little bit. You wouldn't walk up to someone and go, hey, how are you? Would you marry me? If you're looking for a partner in life, you would get to know them. And it's like that on social media. So if you're going to do a little call to action, or you're going to give people an opportunity to potentially do business with you or find out more, consider how you can date people first before going down that road. In other words, earn the right to make the ask. Now, the other thing I want to quickly speak into is this. Unconnected distribution is probably the most underutilized tool there is. Unconnected distribution is an opportunity that the platforms have given us recently, which allow us to reach people outside of our existing network without paying a cent. And I don't believe we're using it effectively at the moment at all. So what is this? Well, just to remind you guys, and I know Scott spoke into this earlier as well, but 2 years ago, there were 4 reasons you would see a piece of content on Facebook or Instagram. Either you were a friend of someone's, you followed a business page, you're a member of a group, or you were being targeted with a paid advert. Then everything changed. And 2 years ago, Mark Zuckerberg stood up and said, I'm going to change the landscape here, and I'm going to start rewarding people for creating great content that people want to see. And we're going to add in unconnected distribution, which essentially means that now I think it's up to 34% as we speak, 34% of all of your content you see on Facebook and Instagram comes from what we call an unconnected source, which is someone you've never seen before. So if you see recommended content is what it will be titled, that is not a post that paid to show it to you. It's a post that Facebook or Instagram decided you would be interested in, and therefore it showed it to you. So what this opportunity looks like is a chance for you to reach more people outside of your existing network, outside of your existing followers, outside of your existing database, just by providing content they want to see. So I want to just take a little moment now to introduce you guys to the CARE method. This is a method that we can attach to all of our social media content, everything that we create. And it comes back to the C, the A, the R, and the E. Number one is connect, build genuine relationships, the one, not the many. How do we connect with people? How do we make it about them? How do we build a relationship? Doing reach outs offline as well as putting content out there is really important. Commenting back when people leave a comment, asking another question, interacting back with them, and building that interaction. The next one is A, attract. And that is sharing valuable content that more people want to see and tapping into unconnected distribution by pushing your content out there. The next one is retain. This one is forgotten about so often because we can often get so caught up in the chase of new leads and new business, we forget to look after those we already have. But remember, it costs 6 times more to attract a new person than it does to keep an old one. And on top of that, word of mouth is one of your most powerful tools. So the last part to this is the most important part, and that's the E for empower. It's about actually doing the work. Whenever I do any training, I will say knowledge isn't power, it's only potential power. We don't need more information, it's already all out there. We need more implementation. So empowering people to do the work, to put the content out there, to be consistent, to make those reach outs is the most important part of this whole process, because we can know what we need to do and then still not show up, and it's not going to help anything at all. So here are 3 things you can do today to encourage your field and literally meet them where they're at. The first one is this: encourage them to share a small personal win. A small personal win can be in the business, it can be outside of the business, it could even be relating to the product. There's no rule here, but it's about them learning to show up authentically as themselves rather than sharing other people's content or using scripts that they might be provided with. Sharing a small personal win can have so much impact because it helps people feel a connection and build that trust we talked about, helping them feel like they know you and therefore, hopefully in time, they like you. The next one is a really great simple thing that you can do from a corporate perspective, and that is to give them some post starters that help them start to think in that space. I love this, and you can come up with dozens and dozens of them. You could even turn it into a little bit of a challenge that you roll out over a period of time. But maybe each day or once a week, give them some post starters like this one here that helps them move from scripted to story driven. Something like, this might sound silly, but, and then they can go ahead and fill in the blanks. And again, this is about them inserting their personality here. The last little tip I've got for you in this space is try a short form video. Now, short form video, guys, doesn't need to include really complicated tools. And I think this is where people get a little bit confused. They think, oh, if I'm going to do video or reels, then I need to use trending audio, or I need to use all of these clever techie tools that other people are using. And that's not the answer. Simply record yourself talking or share a little demonstration of you using your favorite, whatever it might be. It doesn't need to be edited in any way. And in fact, if they're really unsure about video and they're not quite there yet and they're just working on their sponge cake, they're at the very beginning of their journey, why not try something as simple as uploading into a template just a few of the latest photos they took? Practice is not about making perfect. It's about building courage and confidence. Confidence and courage are not something we're born with. There's something that we practice over time. And as we build courage, we build the skills. I've been watching my little 18-month-old daughter as she's learning some new skills over the last 6 months. She started by learning to walk. She went from crawling to walking and then running, and now she's practicing jumping with 2 feet in the air. And it's such a fun thing to watch because she doesn't try walking once or jumping once and then go, well, that didn't work, and not try it again. Yet we see so many people showing up on social media once or twice or 3 times and going, well, that didn't work. And then they stop and they think, well, it's me. I didn't get it right. I'm not good enough. And it's none of those things. So I watch Addie doing this stuff again and again and again. She will try jumping 100 times before all of a sudden, yesterday, she got both feet off the ground. She clapped and celebrated. And then for the rest of the day, all she wanted to do was jump. But guess what? It's easy now. Yesterday, day before, it wasn't so easy. And it's like this with social media. People wait till they get it right, and that's a really bad idea because you know what? No one got it right the first time they showed up. I don't know anyone who got a live right the first time they had a go. So it's all about implementing those authentic strategies. So encourage them, share personal experiences. Yes, you can give them content for sure, but encourage them to share their personal experience and insert their personality into that content. Engage with their audience genuinely. Don't post and ghost. Don't just put a post out there and walk away. We need to be showing up genuinely and authentically. And then, of course, utilize user-generated content. This is the most favored content by the platforms right now, what we call UGC. Facebook and Instagram know when a piece of content was created by you, shared, or generated by AI. When they create a piece of content using their image, using their words, not only does the platform favor it, but people know because they see your face or they see this was something that was created by them. I'm not questioning where it came from. I'm not seeing someone else's face in your piece of content or something that was clearly perfectly curated, a perfectly taken photograph of a flat lay. People don't want to see that stuff anymore. They want to see it in your hand. They want to see it real. They want to see you working the business. They want to see from a corporate perspective, you guys showing up in a genuine, real, relatable way where they go, I want to do business with that brand because I feel like I can connect and relate to it. So when we're talking about brand partners, I want to just leave you with a few tools and resources that I think are an absolute must in giving them the courage to show up regularly and in a way that protects your brand, but also helps you and them grow. That is, first of all, make sure that they have the tools to create a content calendar, something that they can see that shows them what they've got planned ahead so that they can schedule it, they can plan it, at least have a strategy put in place. If I create a recipe, I'm going to write it down. I'm not going to just randomly show up and throw things into that bowl and then walk away and go, oh, I couldn't recreate that ever again because I have no idea what I did. If I'm going to create a recipe and I'm deliberately setting out to create the perfect recipe for the person I'm serving it to, I'm going to write that recipe down. And so as we create our social media plan, we need to plan it and write it down so we can go back and look at what did or didn't work. How am I going to adjust it? Then we need to be setting up some social media scheduling or planning or management tools. Make sure you've got something available for them that's going to make life easier. And as a corporate head office, I'm sure you would be doing this as well. Last but not least, repetition is the mother of skill. Training modules that meet them where they're at, simplify things, give them a step-by-step implementable process are crucial. Because if we let them figure it out on their own, they're going to end up either copying other people, taking on bad habits, or not showing up at all. Just really quickly, I want to share with you 4 quick points to content curation that any person showing up on social media can apply and get great results with. This is, who am I talking to? What do I want them to feel or do with this information? Which story or lesson is going to help support this goal of where I'm heading? And then how can I present that? What is my social media content plan going to look like? Like I said, repetition is the mother of skill. It's not about showing up once and just hoping you get it right straight away. It's not about the field showing up once or twice and hoping they get it right straight away. It's never going to work that way. It's about showing up consistently and connecting with people on a real relatable level. This isn't about being better at technology. It's about being real. It's about cutting through the noise. It's about using the algorithm to do the work for you. Now, I want to finish off on one last little thing, and thank you all so much again for having me today. I am very excited because it just so happens that on International Social Media Day and the day that I'm presenting to all of you, while I'm traveling around the US and we're speaking at a number of different events, I am launching today my very first ever book called Show Up Anyway. Inside of my book are all of these strategies and many, many more that I've spoken to you about today. And I have lined it up so that today I can give you all a free copy as my gift to you. Now, there's two ways you can get my free copy, and I'd love you to grab that. You can either, if you're watching the replay of this, you can go to the QR code or the link that's on the screen here. Or alternatively, if you are watching me live, for this 24-hour period, it's actually available right now in the Kindle store. So you can go to Amazon, you can search Show Up Anyway, and you'll be able to grab it there right now and download it as a gift from me to you. But thank you again so much for having me, everybody. It is such an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you, Scott, and the amazing Multibrain team, of course, for putting on such an amazing event where you guys are just pouring into the industry. We really appreciate you guys. And yeah, I'm also super glad that you included me while I was traveling so that it was on a reasonable time zone, not 3 a.m. in the morning. But I'm going to hand back over to you, Scott.
Oh, Sam, thank you so much. That was great. Colton says, fabulous content, Sam. You know, you talk about how we didn't really make each other's notes or see each other's presentations, but how perfectly aligned we all are.
Yeah.
But it is true. And, you know, I don't feel like anything you just said was repetitive. I felt it was just reinforcement and actually really strategic. I mean, you gave some I love the CARE method. I feel like my big takeaway words for today are be messy, stories, and personality. I mean, you really drove it home in a beautiful way. I think everyone really appreciated it. Angela says, awesome, Sam. Thank you for always great to see you and listen to your tips. I love the recipes. I would love to spend more time on your recipe because that's an amazing kind of funnel for content. However, we've got to keep it moving along because we all went just a little bit over here and we got one more speaker to squeeze in and she is going to be amazing as well. So absolutely great job. Really love the content, Sam. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Oh, she took her off. Thank you, Sam. It was wonderful. Okay, we've got now a wonderful, amazing final speaker for you guys. So hang right in there. Not one person has dropped off. You guys have been amazing. Thank you for all the companies for participating today. I know you're probably in your boardrooms, conference rooms, all watching around, having lunch. So I hope you found this to be a lot of fun. So listen, our final speaker is new to the Social Media Day event, and we are so grateful to have her here. Really, really excited. I just want to make sure she's going to be ready. Oh, she's ready. I see her down there backstage. An amazing speaker. I am so excited to welcome her. She's the founder of Zen Media, a two-time best-selling author, one of the sharpest minds in modern marketing. I mean, Entrepreneur calls her the Zen master of marketing. She is absolutely amazing. And what she's going to be talking about today is, again, more of what's next. And I know the number one topic everybody wants to hear more about is AI. And you've heard kind of this 40% of all posts are created by AI. And I use ChatGPT all day long, even to help me write my emails. But she's going to come with a really great perspective from a corporate point of view and a really modern approach to digital marketing. So would you please welcome an amazing speaker? I can't believe we have her. I'm excited for her to join us. Please welcome Shama Hyder.
She's an accomplished and acclaimed keynote speaker,
a best-selling author, and the award-winning CEO of Zen Media, which is a global online marketing and digital PR company.
Having worked with hundreds of brands across 6 continents, I see the same challenge. Today's leaders are being called to a new standard, the digital one. Why do people use social media? I thought it was to have a sense of community, to connect with other people, but I was wrong. The number one reason people use social media is to showcase their own identity.
Hey everybody, I'm so excited to be here. Scott, thank you so much for that lovely intro. The team, by the way, has been fantastic. They have cared so much about making sure that you have the best social media day experience. So please take a moment to thank these folks whenever you get a chance, because they've been outstanding and they really, really care about the industry. So I'm so thrilled to be here. I'm laughing because I feel like, Scott, you saved the scariest for last, right? So you've got all these wonderful, amazing speakers, and you really saved the crazy AI. How is this going to change our world and everything kind of, for the end. So look, I'm trying to keep a lookout. I'm gonna try to keep a lookout on the comments. And so if you have questions and things, put it in there. I will do my best. I promise. I try to make myself very available to the folks that I do speak to. So if you have things in there, put it here. I will do my best to address them we have so much ground to cover today, guys. And, Scott had asked that, and this is my trademark of making things really practical. So I'm very interested in what I can do for you today in the 30 minutes that we have together, that you can go back to your home offices, that you can take back to your teams, that you can take back to your field, that you can really implement right away, because I do think the clock is ticking. And, so let me answer the question that I think I get the most, and the thing that you guys are probably wondering, if you're not right now, you wondered about this at some point, which is, Shema, is AI going to take my job? And I just want to answer this up front, because I feel like it's the question that I get most. And the answer is that the question is a little complicated one. So what I mean by this is, the answer that you hear most often is, no, AI is not going to take your job, but somebody using AI will. What I want to say is, this is only half the answer, all right? So the real answer to this is that your role is going to transform considerably in the next 2 years, 3 years. In the next 5 years, most of you will not be doing what you do today. So what we are calling marketing itself is going to change. And that's a lot for people to take in. And so what you can do right now is to make sure that you are learning these things. The fact that you are here today, amazing. That you are making sure your teams understand this, because it is an ultimate advantage. So what I'm going to do for you today is show you what the future looks like for AI. And then I have very practical things that I want to give you that you can start implementing right now that'll help. So, you combine two of my most favorite things. One is marketing, which is where I come from. I love marketers. It is my background. It is my home, so to speak. So I speak a lot on it. I understand the profession, and marketing is changing, right? Whether we participate or not is the only question. So what I can tell you is, your job is going to look different in 2 years. The question is, are you going to shape it, or are you going to be shaped by it? Those are the only two choices that we have. A little binary, I know, and we'll get a lot more into it. So how do I know this? How do I know that the world is changing? Because once upon a time, I did my thesis on Twitter when it had 2,000 users. So when I say I have a lot of love for marketing, I began my career at the advent of social media, all right? And I heard a lot of similar things that I hear today. So people said, what's Twitter? This is so early days for social media, guys. I can't even tell you. Some of you, this is your job now, but back in the day, this was a big deal. This was like, what is social media? So things I heard, this is a fad. This is not relevant to our industry. And of course, my favorite, I really hope I retire before I have to learn any of this. And I feel like so much of that same stuff is happening with AI. And just like social media wasn't a thing we ended up doing, but changed our entire world, AI is going to be that thing. It's just a tipping point that will also change our world, in some ways for the better, in other ways for the more challenging. But it's all about how you approach it, right? So just like with social media. Right now, just so you know, 77% of companies are piloting some sort of AI, generative AI. They're doing this. But in my experience in talking to direct selling, only 1 in 4 companies are actually doing this right now within the direct selling space. And so what that means is there's actually a real advantage for the companies that move in the next 12 to 24 months. And it still reminds me, again, just like social media, when I started, it was so funny because I would tell companies, you have an early mover advantage. This Instagram thing, do it. This TikTok thing, do it. So every single platform that I felt like had merit, I've been saying, please take advantage of that window because it will close. And inevitably, we've seen that. All those windows eventually close, and then the playing field gets a lot more level. So this is your opportunity. Next 12 to 24 months, game-changing opportunity for marketers who want to up level, for companies. I mean, it really is going to separate out the amazing players from those that are now playing catch up. So that's what I want for you. I want you to lead the pack. So I told you there's 2 reasons why you are my favorite group. One is marketers. I love you. I have so much love for you. So much of what I create is for you. It's my genesis. And then direct selling. I think that you guys do some of the Lord's work, right? And I love entrepreneurism. I love entrepreneurial thinking, and I like that what you do is you enable so many people. I mean, really, what you think about is you have these, tens and thousands of micro entrepreneurs that you serve that allow them to have the life that they can because of the work that you do. And for me, that's very special. I worked with lots of direct selling companies over the years, all over the world, actually. Mary Kay, Amway, Tupperware, and I just have so much love for the work that you're doing. So those are two reasons I was actually quite thrilled when Scott said, hey, can you come chat with us? So, we are at a very interesting precipice in time. The way I want you to start thinking about AI, and can you guys put in comments if you guys feel like you are, well, let me ask this. How many of you use AI every single day? Like, you use ChatGPT, you use Claude, you use it every single day. I'd love to just see it. If you could put it in the comments. I'm watching the comments. And I'd love to see how many of you, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm very, very curious as to how many of you use it, because the world is going to look very different. So here's what your future job is going to look like. You are going to wake up. This is not that far-fetched. You are going to wake up and AI will have done basically everything short of preparing your coffee. Actually, now that I think about it, it probably does know how you want your coffee, and it probably will tell your machine how to do it. Yes, your boyfriend ChatGPT. I totally get it. I mean, there's this it's amazing. And I love that you're thinking about it that way. And I think that it would be funny, but I think that's actually really smart. AI, the way I want you to think about it, is not something to use, but as a cognitive thought partner. Your boyfriend, your work husband, your work wife, right? That's really how you want to start using AI. And especially for the women in the audience. I will say this, for the women that are here listening, women in general, we tend to do a lot of math in our head. And by that, I mean, we juggle a lot. So I don't know about you, but when you lay down at night, when I lay down at night, I usually have a list in my head. Okay, got to get Archie soccer lessons, got to make sure Amara gets picked up early next week, right? There's like a million things, dentist appointments, got to keep up with my husband's schedule, my work, a lot of things. What I find is that AI has been amazing to take a lot of that even emotional math burden from me and do a lot of that. And so I would like you to start thinking about AI as that cognitive partner in your life, because when you wake up, what it's going to do is it's going to have all your emails responded, auto-drafted. So you'll just be able to go in and be able to say, check, send. So you're going to be able to cut the time you spend on email by 3/4, right? So 80% less time than you do now, because so much of what we do is repetitive. So many of the things, I mean, if I asked you right now, how many times do you answer the same question over and over? I bet most of you would be like, yeah, that's most of my day, right? Whether it's to my kids or to my team, like you're just answering the same stuff over and over. So think about that 80-90% that you do repetitively. AI will take care of that. It will order the flowers for your anniversary. It will make the reservation at your favorite restaurant. It's really going to free you up to do more strategic creative thinking. What this means for you as marketers is that the bar is higher now, because now you have to spend, do you know, it's actually harder to spend your time thinking creatively, strategically. So sometimes when you feel like, you're sending all these emails, you're doing all these things, it feels productive, but you know that the real productive stuff comes when you actually step away, right? When you're away from all of that busy work. But it requires your brain to work harder, and it requires you to raise that bar in how you think. And so in many ways, that's what AI is going to be able to do. It's going to take away a lot of that busy work and allow you to be more creative. Now, here's what I think is fascinating about marketing. See, the last 20 years, we've been told marketing has become data-driven and analytical and quantitative and all this stuff. And, especially in marketing, we've poo-pooed skills like empathy and yeah, it's really funny because I think the future belongs to tastemakers, right? Like if you can, people who have a pulse on what's going to connect culturally, what will resonate. But the last 20 years, we have become obsessed with numbers and data. And it's like, and why? Because we were sold this by Google and all these companies that make trillions of dollars giving you that answer to be like, oh, I will give you all this data. I will tell you where your marketing is working and where it's not. But when all of that can be done with AI, and intelligence can basically, right, be handled there, then what you're left with is human connection, community building. These are things, by the way, that I think actually position direct selling for a renaissance. You are in for a renaissance. People who get in, by the way, right now, I feel like this is ground floor time and not enough people talk about this because it is about to be the renaissance for direct selling. Because people will want that more than ever. They will want that community. They will want that human connection because AI will do so much of this other stuff for us. All right, so now I've kind of scared you, hopefully in a good way, but also ideally, my goal is that you get to start thinking about AI differently. I want to share this quick chart with you just so you can see how quickly we as humanity are getting used to technology. So you can see how long it took Netflix and Twitter and how many days to reach, right, millions of users. And you can see ChatGPT, and it's basically a straight line. And so what this means is technology is only going to get faster. It's going to get better. If you've seen any of these videos that started out looking really clanky and clunky, and now, Pinterest, the biggest problem Pinterest is dealing with is they're flooded with AI-based content that looks so incredibly real. And so you'll see that. I think the technology just gets better and better and better. And so, and even within ChatGPT, there's so many models. When I do a deeper dive of this training, I explain what model is good for what. I'll give you guys just a fun tip. For many of you, when you use ChatGPT, for most things, I would change that model to 4.1. It writes better. You will find it to be incredibly more engaging than the regular default model that they give you. And if you're really looking for good, you need something solid where you really need it to do its best work, use the O3 model, and that's going to be the best for reasoning and so forth. So just fun ChatGPT tips for those who use it. So now I want to get into some examples for you because I feel like this is where our time is best spent. And again, if you have questions, please put that in the comments. I'm so happy to engage with those and work them in as much as I can into this. So I want to give you some examples. For those of you, and by the way, as you go through these examples, I want you to hold them in two ways in your mind. So one, take a ton of notes, guys. I want you to take notes. I want you to see how this applies to you. What I really want you to think about is two ways about this. One, how does it apply to you and your teams? And I'll give you example after example where you can see that. And then the reason I'm also giving you this is so you can go back to your field teams when you were training them. I've done a ton of these trainings and I find that these examples are very helpful. You can use this. So feel free. I'm giving you permission. Use my examples. Use this to help your teams. It's what I do when I go in and do these trainings, and I find that it's really helpful. So the first three examples I want to share with you are personal examples. Why personal? For folks that are scared of AI, I think sometimes with professional stuff, the stakes are a little higher because we don't want to make a mistake, or we might be a little worried about, it getting it wrong or hallucinating or whatever it is. But when it comes to personal, people have a little bit more freedom. They have a little more creativity. They're like, oh, let me try this. So I'm going to give you three examples of how you can use AI in your personal life. All right. Now, this is my favorite hack for parenting. I don't know about you, but at the end of a day, I'm exhausted. By the time I'm trying to get my 5-year-old and my 4-year-old into bed, the last thing I want to do, guys, is come up with a bedtime story. And my kids are still really little, and so they just, it's a big thing, right? And so what I do is I give it to ChatGPT, and I say, here's my son, here's how old he is, here's what he loves. And then this is where the cool parenting hack comes into. I ask it to include a moral from something he was struggling with that day. So in this example, I was like, make the moral be nice to his little sister, because maybe he had a hard time doing that, right? And so then ChatGPT will give me a custom bedtime story for my son, and it'll tie in the moral of the day. And you can do this with anything. So these are just, again, giving you lots of examples here, lots of fun hands-on things, because my goal for you is to start using it. If you use it daily, I want you to get better at it. I want you to use it more. There's so many ways in which you can do this. So really fun, really easy. Try it tonight. For you who have littles, do the bedtime story. It's a lot of fun. Here's another one that you can use: planning birthday parties. But especially when things get a little bit more complex, because this is the type of math that we do a lot of times in our head. So I'm like, help me plan a birthday party. 10 kids, 2 might not show up, 3 are allergic to peanuts, parents will be present. It's a 3-year-old, menu and all, I'm strapped for time, right? And look at this, it gives me everything. Now, when I go deeper into this and I speak, I actually show people how to do a great prompt, what that looks like, because I do believe context engineering, if not prompt engineering, will continue to be a thing. So we all need to get better as marketers on how we provide context to AI, right? And so this is just like a really, really easy one. Yes, it absolutely, talking about like the more you tailor it, the more context you give it. AI is wonderful again as a partner. And just like when in a partnership, the more information someone has, the more they know what you like, what you don't like, the better they can serve you. It's very similar in this way. So here's a fun one. Here's my favorite hack of all. And I swear, audiences, I think of everything that I speak on, this is like the most favorite thing that people love. You can have it make your outfits, guys. And what I do is you can take a picture of your entire closet. Just back up, take a picture of your closet. Doesn't have to be super organized. And you could just say, I have a Christmas dinner to attend. I'm going on date night. I have a presentation for work, whatever. Make me outfits and it will do it. It is the world's best stylist. It is the world's best writer. It's amazing. And so I always find this to be like, again, really fun because it's like having a stylist in your back pocket. And you'll see, in this, I haven't given it a lot of context, but I've fed it a lot about myself. So it knows who I am. It knows me. And so it's able to give me that. Again, it's just such a phenomenal, use. So what I want you to do is share these examples so people can start using it. I want you to start using it. You could do the same thing. Open up your refrigerator, take a picture and say, what should I make for dinner? It will see the ingredients that you are too exhausted to see and put together for you. And so I outsource a lot of this repetitive work, these things that take up space in my mind, and I give it to AI to do. And so as I do that, it allows me to also be a more present partner, better parent, right? And so the idea is, how can AI help you up level how you show up in the world? And that's really awesome. It's very special. Now, I want to give you a framework that you can use professionally. So I'm going to just move from the personal examples to professional examples. And the way I recommend this is to break it into 3 categories. So you have your people, you have process, and you have personalization. And I'll kind of give you an example of what each looks like. Again, guys, doing this at a very high level, but my hope is that it'll spark ideas. And that, of course, if you want to chat, reach out to me. I'm more than happy to do that. I recently wrote a book on applied AI, like just this expanded. If you want a copy, send me an email. I'll just send you the link to the copy. Like, I'm happy to have you have it. I want to help you as much as I can. So if you want it, just email me. I'll give it to you. So here's how to think about it, right? So because AI can be so overwhelming if you don't know where you can apply it, because it's like, wow, I can apply this everywhere. But what if you had a framework that helped you see, okay, but what areas can I really move, right, the needle in? So quantitatively, how can I do this? And by the way, if you're listening to the recording this later, same thing. Email me, Shama, SHAMA, @zenmedia.com. Just say you heard this and I'll send you a link to the book. You can read it and you can share it. I don't mind you sharing it with your teams. So people, your distributors, your field leaders. So if you say, okay, this is our focus, I'm just giving you some examples. Now, in the earlier sessions, you heard from speakers, hey, authentic stories, right? It's really important to be able to share that. And I know that when you're in direct selling, you have parameters, right? So you have a lot of parameters, meaning these are our brand guidelines. Don't say this, do this. Right? You have one of the biggest challenges I saw working across the board with direct selling was we really want to empower our field folks and we need them to, right? We're trying to keep the brand cohesive. Cool. So one thing you can do, by the way, is create an agent, an AI agent. ChatGPT, you can do this through ChatGPT. You can do this through more complex means, depending on your how advanced you feel and how playful you feel with AI. But you can put all of this in there and then you just give them that. So anytime they want to create a post, it's compliant because it checks against the list you already have, which is amazing because you could never have that right before. I mean, it's still all their story. So they just feed it its story and it gives them back something, just making sure it's compliant. So imagine if you could do that for every single person. And historically, of course, people said, Shema, we can't do that at scale. It's like we have 10,000 people, 50,000 people, it doesn't work. But now it can. And so that's one idea. Now you think about process, right? Content creation, so forth. Same thing. You can now multiply. So you can put one product launch brief and have it create multiple posts, multiple templates, presentation slides, the whole thing. It's amazing. And there's so many tools, by the way, that I don't get a chance to get into just for time reasons. But there's some amazing tools right now for presentations and slides. One is called Gemma. I'm actually going to put this in the comments for presentations because I think it's really great. Here, I put it in the comments for you guys. And so process. Think about what are things that are repetitive for you in your marketing ops. And then once you have those challenges, it's much easier to say, how can AI help us with this, right? Personalization, which I love because you can literally take, for example, let's say you had 100 prospects and you have people who signed up and people who didn't. A really basic ways you could put this all into ChatGPT and say, flag what is it about this group of people that gets them to convert versus those who don't. And it might really surprise you. It might say, hey, you know what? Anybody who posted about like side hustles and is really responsive, 80% higher chance that they'll actually sign up. That's great. That tells you something. And so these are just really great ways to think about it. So when you go back, today is Monday. Wow. Like when you go back to the office on Monday, but you can sit down. Next time you sit down with your team, and I recommend you do this as an exercise. And I've helped facilitate so many of these, that you think about people, process, personalization. Just pick, even if you pick one small thing in one category and say, okay, this is our thing. How do we solve for that? That is you using AI to solve professional challenges. It's not just good for your company, it's good for your career, guys. This is how marketers need to be thinking to stay relevant long-term. In fact, my article that I'm publishing this week on my Substack is going to be about the future of marketing and shrinking teams, because that will happen. I got a text message the other day from a friend who's at a marketing startup that said, we replaced 5 people in our content team with 1 in Claude using AI. So, burying our heads in the sand isn't going to help, but strengthening those muscles and being smarter and doing the things that historically direct selling could never do just because of the scale and complexity, AI lets you bridge that gap. So it's actually quite amazing for the folks that really get it and it clicks for you. So here, I want to give you one other example before I close out today. And so, this is kind of, I think, a dream scenario, right? Every organization that I worked with, every direct selling company I worked with always said to me, we have a group of people that outdo everyone else. If we could replicate these people, our business would quadruple. How can we do that? And I'm like, AI can let you do that, which is amazing. So in this is a very simple example. So let's say Maria on your team is amazing, right? You could say, okay, analyze Maria for us. Here's all her customer feedback. Here's how her team looks at her. Here's her performance. What makes her a top field leader? And again, this changes the conversation from, what we see to actually, no, what can data tell us? And this is where data becomes important, where you can look at this and you can see, all right, here's what the data tells us. 65% of Maria's team hits her sales targets. Our company averages 40%. Her recruits stay longer. So what is she doing? And so AI can analyze all the sort of social media posts. Like if you have private WhatsApp groups, you can pull all of that data and it can tell you, right? So it's because, for example, Maria celebrates every team member's milestone publicly. So she's like, shout out to Amy for hitting her first $500 a month, whatever it is. And so once you understand that, you can then take that and you can replicate it. You can give it to everybody on your team, right? Because now you understand what makes Maria successful. And you can do this across the board. So I just want to give you one more example of actually, again, this doesn't take long to do. You don't have to be super technical to do it. But I know this, you have to utilize it. You have to embrace it. The big difference I will say between social media and AI that I see, because I've explained to you how similar I think a lot of what I'm seeing is, the difference is social media was a lot more unforgiving, meaning if you posted something, you had to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you posted that, we delete it. Like it carried a certain level of fear with it, right? And rightfully so. I mean, I think us collectively, we learned a lot of lessons about what to do, what not to do, and so forth. But see, AI is very different in that way, in that no one's judging you when you're sitting there and you're just working your thoughts out and you're putting things there, and it actually is just like having a doppelganger. If you've ever wanted a doppelganger that was smarter and more put together and just got it and helped you through life, well, you have that now. And so I do think that the future of marketing, the future of direct selling is incredibly bright. And I think it's incredibly bright for those who get it and use this next 12, 24 months that you have. I really do believe that, because look, then the game changes again, new things happen, right? The rule book changes, and then everyone sort of plays catch up. You still have, within this time frame, early mover advantage. So please, please, please take advantage of this early mover advantage. Make your life easier. Do it for your career. Do it for your company, because it's never going to get easier than it is right now. I will say this. And the best way to do it is get in there and play, because there is no judgment. There is no perfection. The more you do it, the more you learn, the better your teams are going to get at it. So what I want to leave you with this is, you with AI allows you to be superhuman. All right. And now I'm going to give you the 24-hour challenge, because I do this when I speak, and I tell you the messages I get are so heartfelt and it's amazing. So for 24 hours, I want you to use AI instead of search engines. Now, look, should you be using AI in lieu of search engines? Not really. AI can do a lot more than that, obviously. But for so many folks, I think this, if you have just been sort of holding back, this can help you take the leap. So for the next 24 hours, anything that you want to do, I want you to use AI to be able to do it. And after this challenge, please email me. I want to see what your experience was like. I do respond to every email that I get. I'm so passionate about helping our industry not just survive, but thrive. And I feel like we are running out of time. There is a certain urgency that I wish to convey to all of you. And I want you to do this with your teams. Go back and say, guys, 24-hour challenge, right? Really easy to do, not that complicated, helps you get, your feet wet, helps your team start thinking about it. And I know you're super capable. I mean, you guys thrive on a challenge. You wouldn't be in the role you are in the industry you're in the companies that you work at, if you didn't want a challenge. Like, I know so many of you, and I know how well you thrive. And you do so, with so much grace and so much love in your heart. And so thank you so much for Scott, for team, for inviting me today to share some of this with you. I hope it's been useful. I hope you were able to take this back to your teams. And like I said, if you email me, I'll just send you a copy of my book. I use that. Feel free to print it out. I want you to succeed. I really do. So please know I'm rooting for you from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, that was so fantastic. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
My pleasure, Scott. Thank you for having me.
Really fun. A couple of quick questions for you.
Awesome.
I know we're running, but thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. What would you say in a quick term? I mean, I understand. I mean, I use ChatGPT. I feel like it's my polish. It makes, like you said, superhuman. I'll write something. Can you go make it a little better? How do you feel about using that as a strategy? And will that ever get me in trouble on social media? Do I have to dictate that was made by AI or anything like that?
So if it's just you, right, having it help you write better. By the way, I find Claude to be a better writer than ChatGPT. So
Claude?
I recommend it. CLAUDE, Claude, so different platforms are better for different things. And ChatGPT is actually better for reasoning, mathematical analysis, some of the deep, data crunching type of things that we saw. Gemini is really good for some of those things. But Claude, I find, is actually better at writing things. And look, you can train it on your voice. And so I do, for me, I really do use it as a writing partner, just like you use it, Scott. I give it my thoughts. I'm like, how could I make this better? Give me feedback on it, right? I kind of spar with it. But you can put those settings in so it knows your voice, it knows how to spar with you, it knows that you like a little pushback, you want it to help you get better. So you can do those things. And you can put that in your settings.
Amazing. I'm going to check that out. Last question for you. So, we have a lot of marketing teams from lots of different companies here with us today. So they're in their conference rooms watching and together and whatnot. What would be the first, I get it all the time. They know their people are using AI. They know their people are curious of how to use AI and need training. They're scared of AI because of compliance and things like that. So where would you steer a corporate marketing team, a training group, to train their field on AI? Of what's the best first point of entry as far as storytelling? What would you recommend?
Yeah, I love that. So, gosh, this was a really good start. I would say share this with them, right? You have that framework. Even within the industry, every group looks a little bit different. And so I would say use that framework of where can we start? People, process, personalization. Take one project, tackle one thing, roll it out successfully, get the kudos from compliance, get the kudos from legal, and that gives you the legs and the wind that you need to expand and do more things. And so pick the project that you think you can win at. Don't pick the thing that's most complicated and has a lot of things, right? Maybe you do take that and you create an agent so allows people to create social media posts, and you can put your compliance regulations in there. That's the beauty of it. And so it's not going to give them anything that doesn't already have your checklist. And so I think that's actually the best thing about AI, is that you can at scale give people kind of beyond giving them brand guidelines, you can give them guardrails. And so when I go in to train, I really do first get a sense of where are they struggling? Because sometimes people will say, oh, our biggest thing is that, we've got some really gung-ho folks that'll post whatever. So how can we help them? And then other times it'll be something else. And so I will say this is a top-down initiative, meaning you have to get your leadership on board. The first person that you should share this with, the first folks that you should share this with is your CEOs, your VPs. You've got to start there. And so because once they understand, because this is not just about tools, this is about rethinking an entire organization, inspiring people. Very different. It is transformational change. It's not incremental. So say the world that we live in 3 years from now is going to look so different than the world we live in right now.
Yeah. How do you feel about your topic is kind of this digital marketing, and you're such an expert. I just want to know, just to kind of bring this full circle. I don't know if you saw kind of what I was talking about with this shifting away from algorithm chaos into a world of more private, intentional messaging and that type of strategy. How does that play in your opinion?
Yeah, great question, Scott. So I will say, a lot of what I was hearing, I wanted to, when I talk about social media, I talk about how social and media have split, and that people consume publicly, but we share privately. And that's a huge difference. And so consumption is engagement, guys. I tell all my marketers, consumption is engagement. Nobody leaves comments anymore on things. Like when I'm on stage, I always ask people, I'm like, how many of you scroll through Instagram, TikTok videos? Almost everybody raises their hand, right? And I'm like, how many of you send those things that you watch to the same 3 people in your DMs? And then people laugh and they're like, yeah, that's right. This is just 3 people that you're not, most of us are, this is not the internet of the yesteryear. This is not social media of yesteryear. That novelty is gone. We are not sitting there liking things, engaging, commenting, hey, this was so awesome, blah, blah, blah. When I speak again, I will get way more messages in my DMs than I will hear comments. That's just common for me across, and that's just the way the world works. And so you're absolutely right in that so much happens in these private channels that you have to understand that you have to make consumption the rule and not the exception. And so if you're still measuring it based on like how many comments did we get, that's just not a good way to think about it. The other reason why it's so important to think about this from a marketing level and really top down is think about how many people are shifting now from search engines to AI. So now someone goes to it and says, you know, I'm looking to join a great team. Maybe I'm leaving the team I'm with, and I'm looking for some new companies that better align with XYZ. Do you come up on that list? It's very different. This is not the SEO of yesteryear. And so you have to be thinking about that when AI brings people answers, how are you going to be the answer?
So good. So good. I appreciate that. All right. Well, Shaman, thank you so much for being here today. What a great way to bring us to the finish line with just some future thinking and really just using what this is. So everybody, thank you again to Shama. We are a little bit over. A lot of you have asked about the opening video, and I got some personal notes on it too. So we're going to leave you with that. We want to thank you all for being part of Social Media Day on International Social Media Day, June 30th, 2025. We will have a replay for all of you available for anyone who registered and for all of your teams and for the various organizations represented here. Thank you to Dave, Brad, everyone at DSA. Thank you to the amazing speakers. Thank you to Jen and Sam and Shama for making this day so great. And for all of you for taking out your Monday to be with us. So with that, I'm going to leave you with the video and then we're out. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you. We were promised connection. We got clicks. We wanted conversation. We got chaos. Social media began with good intentions, a digital dinner table, a space to share, laugh, and stay close. Then came the race for reach. Followers became currency. Algorithms decided who we saw and what we believed. Suddenly we were performers, shouting into the void, creating content not to connect, but to compete. We lost trust. We lost intimacy. We lost control. But something new is happening, something real, something small, something powerful. We are curating. We are choosing. We are protecting our circles. We're sharing what matters with those who matter. This is private social, not the end of social media, the upgrade. Where creators become curators, where influence gives way to intention, where one message to one person means more than a million likes. It's not about going viral, it's about being vital to a few. Private social is trust first, connection first, people first. This is the next era of social media. We call it private social.